Neon lights pierce the night like broken veins, and the mansion areas of the future city are shrouded in eternal fog. The aftermath of the space-time rift filled the air with a metallic corrosive smell, as if the edges of reality were being gnawed away by invisible teeth. Cracks, those wormhole-like distortions that are occasionally torn open, connect countless parallel worlds, allowing people to travel briefly, but often bring about memory dislocation and identity confusion. The buildings here, towering glass fortresses, were supposed to be shelters for the powerful, but now they have become a hotbed of crime. Secret passages are hidden deep in the walls, and the secrets on the blueprints lead to the edges of the cracks, swallowing up all evidence. The cordon was tightened tightly, and the blue and white lights flashed like will-o'-the-wisps, reflecting the absurdity of the scene. The body of wealthy businessman Shen Mo was laid out on the marble floor of the living room. His throat was accurately cut with a sharp weapon. The blood formed an irregular dark red lake, and the edges had begun to solidify into gel. The smell of blood is strong in the air, mixed with the mansion's unique lavender air freshener, which is so inconsistent that it makes your stomach churn. His eyes were wide open, and the last moment of horror seemed to be frozen in his pupils, not pain, but some kind of fear that transcended the physical body, as if he saw his own shadow crawling from another timeline. The surrounding police officers whispered, their eyes piercing like needles at Shen Mo, who had just got out of the car. He has a slender figure and a black trench coat that hangs in the foggy wind. His pale face looks ghostly under the light, and his eyes are as deep as the crack itself. Genius Detective Shen Mo, a lonely reasoner who specializes in solving bizarre cases in time and space, is a thorn in the side of the police station. Is it that self-righteous monster again? A young police officer taunted in a low voice. The voice was not loud, but it was enough to spread. Last time there was a crack murder, he insisted that it was multiple timelines, but where is the evidence? It was all based on imagination. This time in the mansion case, the witness was bitten to death in different versions. Can he conjure up the murderer? Lu Zhe rubbed his temples and jumped out of the police car. The police uniform was wrinkled and his face was full of exhaustion. He is a veteran of the police station, full of passion, but he is helpless in dealing with these crack cases. Shen Mo, you're finally here. He growled, his voice mixed with desperation, this case is terrible. The three witnesses' testimonies contradicted each other. Those guys in the bureau said it was parallel interference. Who believes it? We can't even trace the shadow of the murderer. Shen Mo turned a deaf ear and walked straight across the cordon, his steps as light as a cat, as if the bloody scene was just a move on a chessboard. Lu Zhe hurriedly followed and handed over a stack of transcripts. Take a look at these three witnesses first, Gu Sheng, Shen Qingqing, and Li Wei. Gu Sheng said that the murderer escaped through the cracks in the wall and looked like a ghost. Shen Qingqing was the victim's widow and insisted that the murderer escaped through the back door, and Li Wei. She described that the murderer flashed twice in the room, one entity and two shadows. The contradiction is so explosive. The director said that he would close the case if he couldn't solve it anymore. Shen Mo took the transcript, the thin paper felt cold on his fingertips. He knelt down and examined the body up close. Shen Hao's wound was clean and neat, and the blade angle was extremely precise. It cut from the left side of the back of the neck, avoiding the main artery, but went straight to the trachea. The murderer knew anatomy. The arc of blood spatter points to the southeast corner, where traces of cracks are faintly visible. A slight distortion crawls all over the wall like a spider web. The air is slightly distorted in that area, as if breathing becomes heavy. The distribution of blood stains is wrong. Shen Mo murmured, his voice as calm as if he was commenting on the weather. Lu Zhe was stunned, and looked closer. What's wrong? The spray is normal. It sprays out from the neck, and the arc is standard. When the surrounding police officers heard this, they burst out laughing. Look, they're talking nonsense again. A fat police officer shook his head. The blood stain experts have checked it. The murderer's position is confirmed, just 3 meters in front of the body. Crack. That's just decoration. This mansion is built next to the crack. It's weird. Shen Mo ignored the taunt, put on his gloves and lightly touched the edge of the pool of blood. The setting time is about 2 hours, and there are tiny particles hidden under the sticky feel, not dust, but metal shavings. His eyes swept across the living room. The luxurious crystal chandelier was tilted 5 degrees, as if being pulled by invisible forces. The pillows on the sofa had slight burn marks and smelled of ozone, which was the unique ionized smell of cracks. The back door was locked and there were no footprints, but there was unknown scorch in the cracks in the wall. He stood up and opened the transcript. On the first page, Gu Xing's statement, the handwriting was trembling. After I saw the murderer slit his throat, his figure flashed, and the wall cracked with a blue light. He got in, like melting into a shadow. The crack buzzed, and I heard the echo of the parallel world. Shen Mo frowned slightly. Gu Xing, the mysterious witness, the parallel traveler is the most suspect. On the second page, Shen Qingqing, the handwriting is neat, but there is a coldness. The murderer wore a mask and left through the back door. I heard footsteps, turned around and disappeared. Crack. Nonsense, I keep my husband's mansion blueprint, there is no such thing. Shen Hao's widow, the holder of the blueprint, her testimony is the most stable, but the most suspicious. On the third page, Li Wei, scrawled like ghost drawings, 2 murderers in the room. One cuts his throat and the other double image flashes, stacked together, and then merges into one, walking away from the wall. My mind is messed up, and I feel like I am also divided. Double image, a typical sign of parallel interference. Lu Zhe wiped his sweat and said, Shen Mo, why do you look so ugly? These testimonies are inherently messy, and the cracks affect the memory. Who knows whether they are true or false? Shen Mo closed the note and glanced across the audience like a knife. The police officer's ridicule stopped abruptly, and some people subconsciously stepped back. It can't be all wrong, and it can't be all right. He spoke slowly, his voice low but penetrating the fog. This is not a murder in a single timeline. The 3 testimonies point to the superposition of 3 realities. Gu Xing escaped when he saw the crack, which is a parallel passage. Shen Qingqing's back door is an illusion hidden by the blueprint. Li Wei's double image proves that the murderer traveled through himself and created multiple figures. Ha! The fat police officer burst into laughter, drawing echoes. Genius. This is science fiction, right? Where is the evidence? Blood stains, back doors, cracks, everything has been tested, and there is no passage. Lu Zhe was also stunned, his Adam's apple rolled. Shen Mo, are you serious? Experts from the bureau said that the crack only distorts the memory and does not change the physical evidence. Shen Mo turned around and pointed to the southeast corner of the body. Look here. He bent down and tapped the marble floor with his fingers. There was a muffled sound, with a faint hollow echo. The police officers came closer, and their expressions suddenly changed. There was a slight gap on the edge of the stone slab, and the blood stains avoided it, as if it had been deliberately bypassed. The pool of blood spreads unnaturally. Shen Mo continued, speaking faster, eyes flashing with excitement. The splash arc should cover the entire area, but this 2 square meter area is extremely clean. There is a space under the floor, a hidden passage, which leads directly to the crack. The fat police officer blushed and said, impossible. There is no mark on the blueprint. Blueprint? Shen Mo sneered, his eyes locked in Shen Qingqing's direction. She stood in the distance, her pale face like a wax statue in the light, her hands clutching her handbag, her knuckles turning white. Her eyes avoided, but she stared at Shen Mo. Lu Zhe gasped, how did you know there was a problem with the floor? Experts scanned it. Shen Mo didn't answer. He knelt down and used a blade to pry open the edge of the stone slab. With a click, the stone plate loosened, revealing a thin alloy plate underneath. The smell of blood is stronger, mixed with mold and rot. He lifted it hard, and everyone gasped. There was a half-meter deep groove underneath, with yellowed pieces of paper scattered inside, and the edges were burnt, which were the fragments of the architectural blueprint. Among the dense lines in the picture, a secret passage winds from the living room floor to the crack in the wall, marked, parallel interface. Oh my God. Lu Zhe's legs weakened and he knelt on the ground. His voice trembled like chaff. Is this a blueprint? A hidden passage? How come it was missed in the bureau's scan? The fat police officer's eyes widened, his mouth opened in an O shape, he backed up and knocked over the police chair. Impossible. That stone slab, we have stepped on it countless times. As if other police officers were struck by lightning, someone murmured, how could he see it at a glance? The distribution of blood stains, our experts have ignored it. Shen Qingqing's face instantly turned pale, and her handbag slipped. The ink on the fragment of the blueprint flashed under the light. At the end of the passage was a vague crack symbol with the note, designed by Chen Feng, space-time stabilizer. Shen Mo picked up the fragments, and the paper made a tiny cracking sound. He traced the lines with his fingers and pieced together the whole picture in his mind. The passages not only led to cracks, but also created alibi. The murderer used parallel time travel and started from multiple timelines. All three testimonies were true and all were false. Shen Mo raised his head and looked directly into her trembling eyes. Why is your blueprint hidden under the pool of your husband's blood? She took a step back, her lips trembling. You're talking nonsense. I don't know. Lu Zhe stood up suddenly, his eyes bursting with enthusiasm. Shen Mo. Are you a fucking god? This fragment, this proves everything. The murderous intention of the crack starts from the building. The fog wrapped around the living room like a ghost, and the blue and white police lights reflected a strange broken light on the cracks in the wall. The blue light flashed away, as if an invisible eye blinked deep in the crack, swallowing up the last ray of light. The smell of ozone in the air became stronger, pungent like the aftertaste of an ionized thunderstorm, making every breath feel like swallowing metal shavings. Shen Hao's body was still lying in the same place. The coagulated blood clots on the edge of the pool of blood glistened under the light. The groove under the floor was open, and the blueprint fragments were scattered like broken time and space fragments. The surrounding police officers froze on the spot, and some people held their heads in their hands, muttering to themselves, what the hell is going on? The blueprint was hidden under the body, and we stepped on it for a long time. Shen Mo looked past her and locked on the cracks in the wall. There, the air suddenly twisted, and a blue light flashed faintly, as if a shadow was crawling inside. It's not over yet. Shen Mo whispered, the murderer is coming back from another timeline. The fat police officer's face turned from red to white, with cold sweat pouring down his forehead. The ridicule just now was still hanging on the corner of his mouth, but it was twisted into a twitch of fear. He took a step back and bumped into the cordon, making a harsh tearing sound. Shen Mo. How did you know? That slate, we ran it through the scanner more than a dozen times, but there was no response. Are you a monster? His voice trembled violently, and his eyes were fixed on Shen Mo's hand. The fragment curled gently between his fingers, pulsing like a living thing. Lu Zhe's enthusiasm hadn't subsided yet. He grabbed Shen Mo's arms suddenly, his palms wet and sticky. Boss, you are so fucking amazing. This fragment, designed by Chen Feng. Spacetime stabilizer. This thing can stabilize the cracks and make it impossible for people to travel through. Dislocation. The murderer used this to kill people from parallel lines. His eyes were bloodshot, and his usual fatigue was gone, replaced by almost crazy worship, as if Shen Mo was the savior crawling out of the cracks. Shen Qingqing's legs felt like lead. Her handbag hit the ground, and the contents were scattered all over the floor, keys, lipstick, and a stack of folded papers with yellowed edges, which was the complete version of the blueprint. She rushed over to pick it up, but was stopped by Lu Zhe. Don't move. Shen Qingqing, you'd better explain why this blueprint was hidden in her husband's blood. Her face twisted into a pale mask, and her lips trembled as she spoke out. I don't know, it was given by Chen Feng. The blueprint was modified. He said for safety, I didn't hide it. But her eyes dodged, and her pupils shrank in the afterglow of blue light, like a captured prey. Shen Mo ignored the noise around him and carefully put the fragments into the evidence bag. The hem of his windbreaker swept over the edge of the pool of blood, leaving a clean arc. His voice was as calm as an abyss. Lu Zhe, seal off the scene. Ask the forensic team to scan the whole house, especially the back door and the cracks in the wall. Notify the bureau to check architect Chen Feng's files, his designs contain murderous intent. He turned to Shen Qingqing, his eyes peeling off her disguise like a scalpel. You, stay. There are big problems with your testimony and this blueprint. The whispers among the police officers turned to dead silence, and someone whispered to his companion, look at his eyes, they are as cold as ghosts in the cracks. Just now, I laughed at him for thinking, but now, we are all blind. A female police officer's hands were trembling, and the fingers holding the walkie-talkie were pale. Chief, he is right. We have missed such a big flaw, if the murderer comes back. Lu Zhe nodded, grabbed the walkie-talkie and shouted, forensic. Get there quickly. Full scan, restart. He turned to look at Shen Mo, his voice was low and full of dependence. Boss, this case is a mess. I was desperate before you took over. 3 testimonies were fought, and the experts in the bureau said it was memory misplacement, and the case was about to be sealed. Now, there is a blueprint, everything is alive. But where is the murderer? That blue light, you said he is back. Shen Mo didn't answer and walked straight towards the crack in the wall. The air was twisted so much there that the surrounding air molecules seemed to be stirred by invisible hands, making a low-frequency buzz. His fingers touched the wall lightly, and it felt like an electric shock, cold mixed with heat, and there were faint metallic veins pulsing under the wallpaper. Parallel interface, he murmured, and lines of fragments flashed in his mind. The passage not only escapes, but also projects. When the murderer kills, he has multiple threads, and all the testimonies are caught in the trap. He turned around and ordered, Lu Zhe, return to the investigation. Share the forensic report first. Lu Zhe wiped his sweat, took out his mobile phone from his pocket, and projected the preliminary report. The blue light of the screen reflected on his face, which made him look even more fanatical. The autopsy is out. The time of death spanned a 2-hour window, 21 to 2300 hours. The throat wound was precise and avoided the main arteries. The murderer knew medicine. The murder weapon is rare, a space metal dagger. That kind of alloy is only produced in the mineral veins at the edge of the crack. It is resistant to distortion and is specially designed for time travelers. The metal fragments in the blood match perfectly. But the problem is that there is no dagger at the scene, only blood stains. The surrounding police officers approached the screen, and some people gasped, space metal. The black market for that thing is worth tens of millions. Is the murderer a high-level player? The fat police officer's ridicule was gone. Now his eyes were straight with admiration. Shen Mo, you have guessed it, right? The particles in the blood, we thought it was dust. Shen Mo nodded, took out the transcript, and compared it again. His fingers flew across the paper, connecting timelines like spider threads. Gu Sheng, 2130, the murderer escaped through the crack after slitting her throat, blue light buzzing. She was on the east side of the living room, not mentioned twice. He tapped the paper. Shen Qingqing, 2215, footsteps at the back door, no crack. From the perspective of the kitchen, she insisted that the route was clean. He frowned, mutual exclusion. The crack passage is 2 minutes long, and the back door is straight for 30 seconds. His eyes flashed, double image flashes, 2 parallel clones, 3 lines superimposed. Lu Zhe's Adam's apple rolled and his voice trembled. Boss, your inference is genius. Gu Sheng's crack is real, Shen Qingqing's back door is an illusion of projection, Li Wei saw through the double image. But on the blueprint, the passage leads to the back door in disguise. He turned to Shen, who was slumped on the sofa. The burnt marks on the pillow were just under her body, and the smell of ozone hit her nostrils. "Search!" Shen Mo ordered, his voice unmistakable. The two of them split up. Lu Zhe pried open the bookcase, and Shen Mo went straight to the victim's study. The interior of the mansion is like a maze. The walls are slightly distorted every 5 meters. The light refracts double images on the glass windows, making the corridors look like endless mirror corridors. The door lock of the study room was broken, the air inside was stuffy, and the dust on the bookshelves was floating like fog. Shen Mo's flashlight scanned it and locked onto Shen Hao's private diary. The cover was blackened and was sandwiched among architectural monographs. He opened it, and the ink was bright. "Chen Feng, you are crazy to revise this blueprint. Is there a crack in the hidden passage? The spacetime stabilizer can travel stably, but the risk is too great. Parallel crisis, identity misalignment, I will not approve." Next page, he threatened me, saying that if I don't change, my secret will be exposed. After the argument last night, he left wearing a mask and looked like a ghost. Lu Zhe called from the living room, "Boss. Study diary. Chen Feng is the biggest suspect. This architect is proficient in blueprints and uses cracks to commit crimes." His voice echoed in the corridor, and the police officers followed, with a mix of shock and excitement on their faces. "Diary evidence." Shen Mo flipped through the bookshelf when he touched it. "We searched for 2 hours and found nothing." When Shen heard this, she stood up suddenly and said in a sharp voice, "That's a lie. Chen Feng is a friend. He designed the mansion to save us. The passage is a safety valve, not a murderous intention." But her fingers tightened the corners of her clothes, her knuckles were white, her eyes wandered to the cracks in the wall, and the blue light flickered faintly again. Shen Mo closed the diary, and the puzzle in his mind sped up. Chen Feng modified the blueprint, disguised the passage as a back door, stabilized the passage without leaving a trace, started with multiple timelines, and all the testimonies turned into smoke. Lu Zhe, adjust the surveillance. Cameras throughout the house, murder window. Lu Zhe dialed his cell phone and projected it on the big screen. The screen jumped out, 2100 hours, the living room was empty, 2200 hours, static interference, snowflakes filled the screen, and occasionally a double image flashed, a masked figure, superimposed and flashed, then distorted and disappeared, 2300 hours, Shen Hao fell to the ground, blood spurting, but there was no trace of the murderer. "Look! Static electricity, crack interference. But the ghost image matches Li Wei." Lu Zhe smashed his fist on the table, veins popping out in excitement. "Boss, this proves your third-line theory. The experts in the bureau can't see it, saying it's a malfunction." The police officers were watching, and the fat police officer murmured, "The monitoring snowflake, we thought it was broken." He said at first glance that the projection was amazing. The female police officer's eyes were blurred, from ridicule to worship, just this night. "Shen Mo, can you teach us?" Shen Mo shook his head and fixed his gaze on the last frame of the screen. The double images merged into one and penetrated into the cracks in the wall. The murder weapon was hidden in the passage, and Chen Feng's stabilizer made it possible for him to go back and forth without a trace. "Shen, where is the full version of your blueprint?" She stepped back and bumped into the crystal chandelier. The lamp tilted 5 degrees and made a tinkling sound, as if foretelling its collapse. "I burned it. Chen Feng took it away." Her voice was broken, panic surged like a tide, and her eyes reflected blue light, as if she was about to travel through time. Mist seeped out from the cracks, crawling all over the living room wall like countless cold tentacles. The blue light pulsed more rapidly, and every flicker was accompanied by a low hum, as if there were living things struggling inside the wall. Around Shen Hao's body, the edges of the pool of blood began to bubble, and the smell of ozone mixed with the sweet smell of decay made the air as sticky as swallowing gum. The police officers retreated to the door. Some of them retched and covered their mouths. The fat police officer's legs were weak and he murmured, "The communication." Gu Sheng's face seemed to be chewed up by cracks. She said the murderer came from a parallel line. How can we pursue it? This case is over. His voice was broken, and his eyes changed from admiration to despair, as if the blueprint just now was found to be just an illusion. At this moment, Shen Mo's communicator buzzed, the harsh sound mixed with static electricity. The screen flickered, and Gu Sheng's face appeared, pale and distorted, with the dark alley in the background, and rain running down his face. She gasped, her voice trembling like a candle in the wind, "Detective Shen. I have new evidence. The crack, it is moving. The murderer is not one. He came to me from my parallel line. Help." The screen suddenly cut off, leaving only snowflakes and low roars. Lu Zhe's fist clenched loudly, and there were still snowflakes on the screen of his mobile phone. He turned to Shen Mo suddenly, his voice hoarse and begging, "Boss. Gu Sheng is in the alley, I have locked the location, 3 kilometers away, in a crack-prone area. She said there are multiple murderers. We are now. Are you going?" The bureau said that experts will come to assess the risk at dawn, but I feel that she will be gone in the next second. The female police officers around her nodded, their eyes were red and swollen. "Yes, Detective Shen, the wall is moving. Gu Sheng, please help, we can't wait." The roar of the engine tears apart the night, and the neon lights of the future city are twisted like blood. The towering crack warning tower flashes red. Pedestrians on the roadside tighten their collars to avoid the occasional ripples in space, the air occasionally dense, swallowing the street lights for a moment, making the shadows lengthen into ghosts. Lu Zhe's hand holding the steering wheel had veins popping out. He pressed the accelerator to the floor and the car slid on the rain-slick road. He gasped, "Boss, this alley is a blind spot with the highest density of cracks. Last time travelers climbed out of it, misplaced their identities, and killed each other. Gu Sheng. Her testimony was messed up. She escaped through the cracks at 21:30, so why can't she match up with Shen Qingqing's back door? The experts from the bureau said that the memory is biased. We believe you, but what if she is the murderer's clone?" Shen Mo's gaze swept across the crowd like a blade, and his windbreaker bulged slightly amidst the hum. He grabbed the evidence bag, the fragments of the blueprint trembling slightly inside. "Let's go. Lu Zhe, drive. Everyone else, guard the body and monitor, not a single frame is missed." His tone was calm, but like thunder, the fat police officer was shocked, straightened his waist and saluted, "Yes. Shen Mo, we listen to you. I thought you were just imagining it, but now, you are a god." Shen Mo stared at the double image outside the window, his pupils reflected the blue light. "It's not a clone. It's the memory of the real body, mixed with parallel fragments. Her ghost description matches the surveillance. Chen Feng's passage allows the murderer to operate on multiple lines." The car lights pierced the dark alley, and the rain fell like silver needles. The figure at the end of the alley huddled behind the trash can, Gu Sheng, with soaked long hair sticking to her face, her hands clasping her knees, her shoulders shaking violently, like a candle about to be extinguished in the wind. Her eyes reflected strange light in the blue light, the air around her was distorted, and the ground cracked with cracks, making a creaking sound like bone cracking. Shen Mo got out of the car, rainwater dripping down his windbreaker. He squatted down and locked his gaze on her pupils. Something strange flashed there, like silver threads of parallel fragments fleeting. "Explain in detail. Shape of the crack. Frequency of the buzz. Height of the murderer, outline under the mask." His voice was low and without any warmth. Gu Sheng froze. She scratched the ground with both hands and picked at the bleeding marks with her fingernails. The vortex rotated counterclockwise, and the blue light was like the buzz was an octave lower, like a heartbeat. He was 1.8 meters tall, with a silver-rimmed mask and red eyes. But I remember that when he turned around, his two shadows split, one went through the wall, and the other went to the back door. No, I have never been to the back door. Lu Zhe braked suddenly, and the tires screeched and made black marks. He drew his gun and jumped out. Gu Sheng. Don't move. Police. Gu Sheng raised his head suddenly, his face was pale and twisted, his lips were purple, and his voice was squeezed out of his throat, like a sob. Shen. Detective Shen. You are here. It is chasing. Crack. Coming out of the wall like a whirlpool, the man in the mask was wrapped in blue light and swallowed him up. At 21:30, I was at the east side window and saw it with my own eyes. She pointed at a new crack pulsing there, and there was a faint double image in the blue light. The buzzing was mixed with a low roar, which made Lu Zhe take a half step back, the muzzle of the gun trembling slightly. Shen Mo's hand clasped her wrist like an iron clamp, her pulse beating wildly exposed the lie, her heart rate soared, her pupils dilated not out of pure fear, but out of guilt. It's not just a quarrel. You are hiding something. The mask in the diary matches your description. Tell me, what is Chen Feng's experiment? Have you seen the stabilizer blueprint? Gu Sheng's face twisted into a mask of pain. She shook her head violently, but was peeled away by Shen Mo's eyes. Those eyes were like cracks in the abyss, swallowing up the disguise. She collapsed and knelt down and howled, "Okay, I admit it. That day, I hid in the east side of the living room and eavesdropped on the whole process." Chen Feng wore a mask and threw out the blueprint fragments, saying that the passage led to the parallel corpse hiding place, and the stabilizer allowed him to kill without leaving a trace. Shen Hao refused, and he projected a clone to test the passage, and the blue light flashed, and I was scared away. But I didn't report it, because I was in the parallel line, and I owed him money, black market stabilizer transaction. Lu Zhe pressed down the muzzle of his gun, his blood surged up, and he shouted, "Miss, you are fighting with your testimony." Shen Qingqing bit him to death and the door was seamless. How can you split? Say. Are you a time traveler? Are parallel memories mixed up? He took a step closer, rain splashed mud, Gu Sheng screamed and backed away, and hit the trash can. A loud bang echoed in the alley. Yes. Last week split sucked me, and I see Shen Hao and Chen Feng quarreling over there. Chen Feng shouted, "The blueprint channel will destroy you." Shen Hao smiled, "Expose your crack experiment. But, after coming back, the memories are superimposed, and I can't tell which line is the other." Her voice broke, tears mixed with rain, and the blue light lit up, as if in response to her panic. Lu Zhe's eyes were as wide as copper bells, his jaw was wide open as if it were dislocated, and the gun slipped half an inch. What? Did you witness everything? Chen Feng personally admitted the murder intention. Boss, if you ask 3 questions, she will do it all. The interrogation team of the bureau has tortured her for a week, and she will not. It doesn't work. He turned around and kicked the trash can, the clang shook the wall of the alley, and the blue light trembled in response, his face flushed with excitement. Genius. This testimony is irrefutable. Parallel trading, exclusive traversal of stabilizers, matching with tens of millions of daggers on the black market. The police siren approached in the alley, and the fat police officers arrived with a team. When they heard Gu Sheng's confession, their expressions changed from despair to shock. Someone murmured, "Shen Mo forced a confession in the rain, and she blew herself up without touching a finger. We are still suspecting that she is the murderer." The female police officer's hands were shaking, her eyes were filled with admiration, from the communication disconnection to the collapse of the scene, 10 minutes. His eyes are enough. Shen Mo let go and Gu Sheng went limp. He turned around and said, "Lu Zhe, escort her back to the mansion. Live simulation, 3 testimonial paths. Now." The rain intensified, everyone got in the car, and the convoy returned to the mansion like an arrow. In the living room, the blue light is even more crazy, the cracks in the wall expand by half a centimeter, and the ozone is so pungent that it makes people cry. Next to Shen Hao's body, Shen Qingqing was handcuffed and sitting on the sofa. Her eyes wandered, and when she saw Gu Xing dragging him in, her face turned pale. "You are talking nonsense. Chen Feng is not." Shen Mo ignored it, pulled out the blueprint fragments and notes, and ordered, "Turn on all lights. Lu Zhe, mark the location." Lu Zhe's blood boiled, and spray paint flew. He spread out the blueprint projection in the living room, with red lines marking Gu Xing's east side window, Shen Qingqing's kitchen perspective, and Li Wei's stairway. Simulation. 2130, Gu Xing's perspective, the crack is drilled out, and the winding passage leads to the back door in 2 minutes. His fingers flew along the line. Gu Xing nodded and trembled. "Yes, the heartbeat is buzzing." 2215, Shen Qingqing's back door went straight for 30 seconds, seamless and shadowless. Lu Zhe sprayed the second line, the intersection of the two lines, the crack interface, overlapping. Impossible. At the same time, she saw that the back door was clean, but Gu Xing saw the passage and escaped. Unless. His voice was stuck, and his eyes were bloodshot. Shen Mo tapped on the center of the blueprint, and the metal veins lit up the projection. Li Wei has a full-time ghost. 3 parallel lines, the real body channel to kill, the projection of the back door to lure testimony, and the blue light cover on the east side of the clone. The murderer manipulated the cracks, extended the time window for 2 hours, superimposed multiple realities, and created irrefutable evidence of alibi. His fingers pierced the projection, and the ghosts merged into one. The blueprint channel pulsed like life, buzzed amplified, and the cracks in the wall responded like spraying blue paste. The whole place was dead silent. Lu Zhe hit the floor with his fist, shaking up the blood dust, and roared, "Boss! IQ crushing. 3 certificates are mutually exclusive, all in the trap. Chen Feng's channel is disguised, the stabilizer synchronizes the clones, our experts look at the blueprint and say safety valve, you can see through it at a glance." The fat policeman knelt down on his knees and muttered, "It's amazing, the simulated path, the space distortion perspective, we scanned it 10 times without thinking of parallels. From despair to the truth, it's this moment." The female police officer burst into tears, arms trembling, shocked. My heart stopped. His inference is like a crack swallowing lies. Gu Xing was paralyzed with admiration mixed with fear. "Detective Shen, you see through my brain." In that passage, Chen Feng hid the evidence, the dagger. Parallel to the corpse point, he put it there. Lu Zhe rushed over, grabbed her collar and asked passionately, "Where is it hidden?" "Coordinates. Stabilizer fragments. Black market transaction slips. Vomit them all." The boss said, "Multi-line murderer, evidence iron chain." Gu Xing gasped and pointed to the blueprint, the hidden door on the east side, the rear parallel interface. "I have seen the fragments of the stabilizer wrapped in a dagger. The transaction slip is in my bag." Lu Zhe dug through the bag, pulled out the yellowed note, and projected it to enlarge it. Chen Feng's signature, stabilizer formula, matching the autopsy medal. The blue light outside the door sprang up like a living snake, distorting the rain curtain into swirling broken shadows. Shen Qingqing's ghostly figure slowly approached in the echo of the doorbell. Her face was exactly the same as the one cuffed on the sofa, but with a strange paleness, and silver threads flickered in the depths of her pupils, like the residue of cracked slurry solidified. The buzzing at the cracks in the wall in the living room of the mansion intensified, the blue light pulsed like a heart twitching, the smell of ozone was so strong that it made the air bite, and the bubbles at the edge of the pool of blood burst, spewing out tiny metal shards that clanged to the ground and echoed. The fat police officer's knees weakened and the barrel of his gun hit the ground. His voice trembled like a broken leaf in the wind. Two Shen Qingqings. "Oh my God, is there a clone in this crack? We just broke through the 3rd line, and she came to double the line. The experts in the bureau said that the ghosting can last up to 3 seconds. This. I have been standing at the door for 5 minutes. She backed up and bumped into the chandelier. The crystal shards tilted and swayed, reflecting the ghostly outlines of the double Shen. She crossed her arms and gasped, "Detective Shen. Don't open the door." The one outside the door has a blueprint in his hand as thick as a body bag, and the blue light swallows her ankles from the soles of her feet. Our bodies are about to collapse, and this mansion has become a parallel nest. Lu Zhe raised the muzzle of his gun sharply, and pointed his veins at the crack of the door. His blood was mixed with panic, and beads of sweat fell down his forehead. "Boss." The surveillance camera flashed twice, and the 2 heartbeats were synchronized. The eyes of the man on the sofa wandered, and he was begging for release outside the door, a parallel substitute. Goo. How long can the stabilizer Shen mentioned be used to stabilize the clone? We simulated the 3rd line of evidence, and she came to the 4th line. The Bureau ordered the mansion to be cordoned off, and the experts didn't arrive until dawn. We couldn't stand it. Gu Shen collapsed on the floor, his face that had just confessed was twisted into a mask of fear, and his nails were dug out. Blood marks streaked across the blood dust, and she choked with sobs. "Yes, the stabilizer. Chen Feng mentioned it in the transaction, and the ghosting is delayed for half an hour. The one outside the door comes from the parallel interface, and the full version of the blueprint hides the channel coordinates. But she knows that I have done all the tricks, and will silence her." Sofa Shen struggled against the cuffs, his face was as white as paper, and his voice was sharp and harsh. "Fart. That's a fake me. Chen Feng is my husband's friend, and his passage is for escape, not murder. Do you listen to this crazy woman Gu Shen? She owes money to the black market and makes up random transaction sheets." Shen Mo's gaze was like a crack in the abyss, scanning the 2 figures indifferently. His hand slowly pressed the door lock, his windbreaker bulging in the buzzing air waves, and his tone was as calm as dead water. "Open the door. Lu Zhe, scan the heart rate. Others, seal the windows and seams." The blue light expands, and the oxygen pressure drops. His instructions were like thunder, the fat police officer said. She was shocked, got up from her knees, and staggered towards the curtain. "Yes." Shen Mo said, let's go. I thought it was over just now, but the 2 widows were ghosted, and he is still as steady as a god. The female police officer gritted her teeth and pulled the cordon, with tears in her eyes of admiration. From the alleyway to the confrontation between the 2, he did not blink. "Our heart beats at 200, but his pulse is stable." The moment the door opened, blue liquid splashed on the threshold, and the ghost figure Shen stepped in. The rainwater trickled down the scroll of the blueprint and formed a silver vein. She threw the thick roll on the coffee table, smashing the blood and dust into the air. Her voice was synchronized with the one on the sofa but echoed, "The full blueprint is here. The hidden passage on the main floor leads directly from the crack in the living room wall to the unknown area in the basement. Designed by Chen Feng, marked as an escape, but annotated, the crack stabilizer interface. Let me go, she will do nothing." "I know." Shen screamed at the sofa, "Shut up. You are the fake. Before my husband died, I saw Chen Feng change the blueprint to save him for financial reasons. It was not a murder." The double voices overlapped like a ghost chorus, and the gap in the wall expanded an inch in response. The masked man flashed in the blue light, and the chandelier crystal cracked and jingled. The police officers burst into cheers, but stopped abruptly. The doorbell rang, and the surveillance camera flashed. Shen blueprint handbag was empty, but was she herself outside the door? No, there was another Shen standing in the rain, holding a thick blueprint, with a gloomy face. His voice came through the crack in the door, "Shen Mo, I'm bringing the full blueprint. The secret of the passage can solve your mystery. But first, let me go." Blue light surged from her feet, and a double image flashed. Shen Mo grabbed the blueprint scroll, and the metal veins where the gloves touched lit up the projection, and the living room wall reflected the three-dimensional section of the mansion. the hidden passage on the main floor was winding like a worm passage, starting from the fragment of the floor just below the pool of blood, drilling into the crack in the east wall, bending to avoid the back door, and heading straight to the unknown black area of the basement. Blue light pulsations are projected simultaneously, the ozone pungentness intensifies, and the air is as thick as swallowing glue. He unfolded the transcript and compared the paths of the three testimonies, his eyes like laser cutting. The passage reveals the back door, Shen Qingqing's perspective. The murderer appeared at the back door after 2 minutes of winding, seamless and invisible. Gu Xing escaped through the crack on the east side. The passage interface is here, and the ghost projection covers it. But Li Wei is always ghosting, conflict. There is no direct view of the passage, how can she see it? The projection rotated, the passage vanes matched the frequency of the buzzing of the cracks, the low-octave heartbeat amplified, and the eardrums of the audience were stinging. Gu Xing crawled closer, his pupils flashed with silver threads, and his voice was intermittent. Yes, Chen Feng insists on building an addition. He said emergency escape to prevent the cracks from collapsing. But in the black market transaction, he said it himself, the stabilizer is embedded in the channel wall, allowing the clone to pass through the parallel point without distortion, killing people and hiding corpses. The day I owed money, I saw the blueprint annotation, stabilizer frequency 8 Hz, delayed ghosting 30 minutes. Shen Qingqing on the sofa struggled to deny, lies. Chen Feng saved her husband's wealth. The risk of exposure is high, and it is not a murderous intention. Shen Qingqing, who was ghosted outside the door, smiled sullenly and said, she hid it. Her husband Shen Hao owes Chen Feng 500 million for the black market stabilizer investment. Shen Hao threatened to expose the parallel coordinates of the channel and ruin Chen Feng's experiment. Is that a side effect of the stabilizer, delayed death of the frozen nerves? Lu Zhe's scanner beeped wildly, and the heart rate curves overlapped by 99%. He took half a step back, and his gun trembled. Boss. The synchronization is scary. The parallel delay stabilizer confirmed Gu Xing's transaction order. But the blueprint. My God, the veins of this scroll are metal, like they are alive. He sat slumped, his eyes widened, and his blood turned to despair. We just simulated the third line, and the passage is clear. The Bureau said that the basement scan has zero density. How can we measure it? Shen Mo ignored the commotion and unfolded the blueprint in full under the night light. The projection expanded to cover the entire living room floor, and the edges of the pool of blood turned silver and blue. His fingers wandered along the path of the passage and tapped the annotation area, crack stabilizer, frequency matching, delayed projection, parallel interface coordinate encryption. Comparing Gu Xing's transaction sheet, the formula matched the metal debris and was exclusive to the autopsy dagger's resistance to distortion. The passage explains the back door, but the escape from the crack requires synchronization of clones. Point of conflict, underground black area. No scanning records, due to magnetic field shielding. His tone was still calm, but like a blade peeling away a web of lies, the pulsation of the passage accelerated in the projection, and the cracks in the wall responded with spray. Lu Zhe woke up from despair, his blood was rekindled and he rushed towards the wall. He grabbed the surveying instrument and rushed to the wall. Boss. I will measure it. Spray paint to mark the hidden door. He rushed to the east side, the instrument was placed against the wall and beeping, the magnetic field fluctuation curve soared, an abnormal peak, a heartbeat frequency of 8 Hz. The wall trembled slightly, metal veins loomed, and there was a low roar like the breath of an animal. Confirmed. The magnetic field of the wall is distorted by 20%, and the stabilizer remains. The passage is here, leading to the underground. Boss, you predict the black area, I detect the fluctuations, and our experts scan for 10 rounds and say it is normal. His eyes were bloodshot, and he punched the wall to shake the dust. He shouted excitedly, IQ crushing. From the double clearance chaos to the irrefutable proof of the passage, 1 hour. Scan the blueprint with your eyes, we are blind. Shen Mo turned to the double Shen, his eyes locked on the pupils, the heart rate on the sofa soared, and the double shadow outside the door dodged. Financial disputes. Full description. Shen Hao owes 500 million, stabilizer investment. The diary only mentions threats and conceals the scale of the transaction. Chen Feng throws away the scraps of the mask. It is not a blueprint dispute, is it a murderous attempt to collect debts? Shen Qingqing collapsed on the sofa and howled, the cuffs were bleeding. Okay, admit it. My husband borrowed money to build a channel and sold stabilizers to pay off the debt. But Chen Feng refusing to be exposed, he projected the tunnel and killed people out of control. The ghost outside the door turned pale, and the blue light crawled to his knees. She is in a parallel line, and her memory is misaligned. I am omniscient. Chen Feng entered the tunnel in person last night, and I saw it with my own eyes. But the blueprint is encrypted, and he hid the body there. The fat police officer's scanner fell to the ground, his legs became weak and he murmured, the blueprint projection came alive, and the black area of the passage was like a bottomless pit. We thought that the third line was holding up the sky, and this fourth line of financial disputes. Detective Shen, you just dismantled the simulation, and now it's all night long. We can't hold on, the blue light is swallowing us. The female police officer's eyes were blurred with tears, and she squatted on the ground with her head in her hands, despair. I just worshipped your God, and now the ghost bites the testimony, and the passage is parallel underground. My heart is going to explode. The whole place erupted from deathly silence. Gu Xing knelt down and worshipped. Detective Shen, you raised 3 questions, and the 2 clear and slandered each other's finances. Our black market lines are all aligned, and the passage is the murder weapon. The fat police officer saluted with trembling hands. God. Analyzed all night, measured the fluctuations, from the twin shadows of despair to the iron chain finance, we kneel down and surrender. The female police officer burst into tears and hugged her legs, shocking. The blueprint is projected live, the magnetic field confirms, his inference is cracked. The heartbeat has caught up with the frequency. Lu Zhe spray-painted the hidden door, mapped the curved projection and stacked the passage, and shouted, Boss. Open the wall. Underground black area, hidden corpse dagger. Gu Xing's coordinates match. Shen Mo nodded, pressed the center of the blueprint, and the projection rotated deep into the ground, the unknown area expanded, faint parallel ripples flashed, and the buzzing amplified like 1,000 insects eating bones. The blue light in the cracks in the wall swelled like a hungry beast, and the slurry splashed on the threshold and formed a silver-blue river. Shen Qingqing's scream outside the door tore through the night sky, and the outline of the ankle submerged in the slurry twisted into a whirlpool afterimage, Chen Feng's coordinates. X 47.3, Y parallel theta 9. Open it, and the cracks will connect the whole city. The underground black area is not the end, but the node hub. The collapse will swallow up the entire mansion area. Her voice echoed like a ghost crying, and the silver threads in her pupils flashed, and the blue light climbed up to her knees, swallowing the blistered symbol paper on the edge of the blueprint. The air in the living room solidified into a gel, and the smell of ozone mixed with blood was like corroding the lungs. Every breath was like swallowing broken glass, and the crystal shards of the chandelier spilled into the pool of blood. The echo of the jingling reflected the silhouette of the man in the mask with a sinister smile. The fat police officer hit the ground with his knees, and the scanner slipped with trembling hands. He held his head and murmured, his voice broken like a candle in the wind, it's over, the symbols are alive, and the ink is crawling on the edge of the blueprint. We just tested the passage, and now the whole city is in crisis. Detective Shen, it's okay if you dismantle the double clear, this coordinate is turned on, experts have said, node collapse, parallel tides, tens of thousands of corpses. The female police officer huddled in the corner, tears and sweat dripping down her face, and she gasped, despair. The 2 shadows just let go, and now they are swallowing people. Army, it's too late for us to blockade, the blue light pulses in sync with the heartbeat, the wall is about to burst. Lu Zhe's blood felt as if it had been cut off by ice pliers. He stared at the underground black area where the veins gathered in the projection. He smashed his fist on the hidden door on the east side marked with spray paint. Dust hit his face, and the magnetic field meter beeped wildly. The 8 Hz frequency was beating like an animal's heart, boss. The coordinates point to the black area, let's dig. But Gu Xing said the corpse hiding spot, start the linkage. Under the Bureau's lockdown order, the experts only arrived in the early morning, and we waited for half an hour. His eyes were bloodshot, and the gun barrel knocked out metal shards. His despair was mixed with madness, from the third line to the double clear channel, your eyes are lying, and we touch it blindly. But this symbol. Parallel theta 9, like an infinity mirror. Gu Xing got up from the floor, with bleeding marks drawn by her fingernails across her silver pupils. She choked and pointed to the blistered edge of the blueprint. Parallel memories flashed. There is this symbol on the inner wall of the passage. When Chen Feng was demonstrating on the black market, the ghost mask flashed the coordinates and said, "Node is eternal, kill without a trace." Li Wei's ghost testimony is not an illusion, it is a time travel afterimage. She sees ghosts all the time, due to the delay of the tunnel projection. 8 Hz frequency is locked on the retina. The real Shen Qingqing's handcuffs were bleeding, her face was twisted into a mask of fear, and she screamed, "She's talking nonsense." The coordinates are encrypted by her husband's diary, anti-theft. Chen Feng didn't kill him, he was on the phone with me 100 kilometers away. The ghostly figure outside the door was half dead, and only the outline of his upper body was left, shouting, "The call is fake. The stabilizer frequency interference signal." Shen Mo's gaze was like a black hole swallowing up the noise. His gloved fingers firmly pressed the center of the blueprint. The projection vanes rotated and accelerated in the ozone fog. The symbols X 47.3 and Y parallel theta 9 floated into a three-dimensional grid. The living room wall reflected the underground profile of the mansion. The hidden passage ended in a winding confluence and merged into the black area node. The radiation curve faintly pulsated. The blue light buzzed and amplified in response, and the eardrums felt like they were being eaten by insects. The air pressure dropped, the oxygen pressure meter beeped to warn, the bubbles in the pool of blood burst and sprayed out metal shards, and the clang to the ground was like a countdown. His tone was as calm as the dead abyss, patchwork of symbols. X 47.3 east longitude offset, Y theta 9 parallel inclination, the channel is not the end point, and directly connected to the crack node. Gu Xing's memory matches, and Li Wei's double image is an afterimage, full-time visual lock, confirming the clone's delay. Li Wei line, projection the passage flashes, without entity. Gu Xing, escape from the east side interface, real body hidden node. His fingers wandered along the grid, tapping the theta 9 tilt angle, and the projection exploded into a parallel ripple simulation, 3 lines of the masked man's clone, the back door projection, the crack cover, the real kill in the passage, perfect absence. Just as the veins converged, the paper blistered at the edge of the blueprint, and the hidden ink was revealed when exposed to ozone, a string of symbols emerged, twisted like cracks. The coordinates were, X 47.3, Y parallel theta 9, pointing to an unknown parallel node. The blue light in the cracks in the wall skyrocketed, and the ghostly masked man growled, "Here we come." Shen Qingqing's ankles were engulfed in slurry outside the door, and she screamed, "That's the coordinates of Chen Feng's corpse hiding place." But when it is opened, the cracks collapse, and the whole city is linked. Lu Zhe's despair turned to fanaticism, and he jumped up and shouted, "Boss! The node is confirmed, I will lead the team to dig underground. Fat, female, seal the windows and grout. Gu Sheng, keep an eye on both of them." He grabbed the chainsaw and crowbar, his blood and veins bulging, rushed out of the back door of the living room, and went straight to the basement stairs. In the distorted blue light of the rain screen, the underground passage of the mansion was as cold as a tomb, with a pungent smell of musty mixed with ozone. The veins on the walls were faintly glowing, and the tinkling of metal debris echoed with each step of the stairs. The fat police officer followed, his legs weak, and he gasped, "The army. There is no scanning in the black area, we are sawing the wall. The density of cracks is 0, and the node radiation is now." In front of Lu Zhe's gun, the buzzing of the chainsaw cut through the iron grid of the underground storage room, and the closed iron door was exposed in the explosion of dust. The surface metal veins matched the blueprint, the weak radiometer beeped red and flashed, and the 8 Hz frequency roared like an animal's breath. The radiation is 0.5 millisieverts. The stabilizer remains, and there are ripples behind the door. The boss's guess is accurate. 10 rounds of sweeps in the bureau have failed. This door is shielded parallel. The female police officer measured the radiation and her hands shook. "The army is weak but climbing," opening the door to hide the corpse. "Our heartbeat is 200, but you are hot-blooded." The whole place erupted in deathly silence. The fat police officer glared and dislocated. He stepped forward on his knees and grabbed the hem of Shen Mo's windbreaker. His voice trembled and he worshipped God. The symbols bubbled for half a minute. "You pieced together the node network. We watched people swallow people in despair. With your eyes, the whole city's crisis was solved. Experts in the bureau for 3 days, we kneel down." The female police officer stood up in tears, hugging the surveyor and worshipping, "Shocking. Shuang Qingqing bit the evidence of Li Wei's remnant, and the pulse is as stable as yours, before the heartbeat explodes." Shen Mo ignored it, grabbed the evidence bag and left the mansion. The night rain poured down like blue syrup, and the neon lights of the future city were distorted into cracked phantoms. He drove the maglev car to Chen Feng's studio for hundreds of kilometers. The building is like a steel fortress, with blue light pulsing around the cracks around it, and passers-by outside the cordon are stealing. Architect Chen Feng. The #1 murderer, the king of the black market of stabilizers. But there is irrefutable proof of his absence. The meeting is live broadcast on the entire network. The lights in the studio hall were cold, the blueprint projector buzzed. Chen Feng stood up straight in his suit, his face was pale but his eyes were as deep as cracks. "Detective Shen. Visited in the middle of the night, blueprint coordinates." Shen Hao was unlucky. "I designed the channel for pure escape, financial disputes. Rumors in the diary, 500 million investment in stabilizer prototype, risk of self-destruction." He tapped the holographic screen with his finger and played the video of the meeting. From 21 to 2300 hours, he spoke clearly, the audience applauded, and the static interference only flashed for 3 seconds. "Absence is perfect. Gu Sheng is lying about debts in the black market, and Shen Qingqing has misplaced memories. Dagger. The black market is rampant, not me." At the same time, Shen Mo folded the blueprint, and his windbreaker bulged with blue air waves. He turned to the double Shen Qingqing, "Chen Feng. Interview. Now. Lu Zhe digs up the nodes, you guys, cuff me, fill the gaps in the testimony." The ghost scream outside the door lost all the liquid, leaving only the echo. The real body Shen Qingqing paralyzed and wailed. There is a meeting recording 100 kilometers away from his studio. Perfect was not present. Gu Sheng's eyes flashed, and he knelt down and added, "Parallel memory." Before he entered the passage with his mask, he projected a clone to go to the meeting. The prototype of the dagger is in the studio, and the black market is wrapped in a stabilizer. Shen Mo's gaze was like a hologram cut by a laser, and he scanned Chen Feng's pupils. The silver strands disappeared in a flash, and the corners of his mouth trembled slightly, as if the frequency was out of tune. Conference projection. Frequency 8 Hz, delayed ghosting. The real body left the channel, and the corpse was hidden at coordinates. He took half a step back, beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, and his voice trembled slightly. "Nonsense. The prototype dagger is in the laboratory, tested for resistance to distortion, not a murder weapon." He led the way into the inner room, where the prototype of the space metal dagger flashed in the glass cabinet, and the fragments of the stabilizer were wrapped to match the autopsy debris. At this moment, Lu Zei's communication exploded, boss. The iron door is pried open, and the radiation has soared by 1.2. There is a slurry pool in the black area, and the veins are connected to the nodes. But, there is no corpse behind the door, and Gu Xing's coordinates have shifted. Our radiation suits can't withstand it, and the blue light swallows our feet. Chen Feng's eyes were strangely evasive, and there were ripples in the depths of his silver pupils. He whispered to cover up, deviations are common, parallel theta variables. Shen Mo pressed the dagger prototype with his fingers and projected the overlay channel network. Strange. Eyes locked on theta 9, your frequency. The cracks in the studio walls buzzed in response, and the blue light pulsed in sync with the mansion. Lu Zei roared in the underground communication, boss. The weak radiation source behind the door is tracking the fragments of the dagger. But, listen. Whispering sounds came from the depths of the plasma pool, like, Shen Hao calling for help. Chen Feng, passage, give me back. The nodes were connected, and the city's alarm went off. Chen Feng's face turned pale, and his fists shattered. No way, that sound is an afterimage. Shen Mo turned around, his windbreaker hunting, dig deep. Call for help. The holographic screen in the studio is still echoing Chen Feng's meeting video. The audience's applause is like the chirping of mechanical cicadas. The 8 Hz frequency residual wave of static interference makes the edges of the screen slightly distorted, like insects crawling under the skin. Chen Feng's pale face elongated the shadow under the projection of the blueprint. His fingers rested on the glass cabinet of the dagger prototype, and the fragments of the stabilizer reflected Shen Mo's reflection. Those eyes were like bottomless cracks, swallowing up everything to dodge. The smell of ozone in the air was as strong as corrosive, and there was a faint buzzing in the cracks in the walls. At the same time, the whispers, Chen Feng, passage, give me my life, came from the underground of the mansion. The sound waves were distorted and amplified through the maglev vehicle's communicator, like ghost breath crawling out from the depths of the lungs. There were ripples in the depths of Chen Feng's silver pupils. He concealed it with a low smile, and his voice trembled slightly like a frequency imbalance. It's just an afterimage. Parallel theta variables are common. Detective Shen, your divine speculation stops here. 500 million investments are exposed to risks. Why should I do it myself? Gu Xing's black market debts and Shen Qingqing's misplaced memories are all parallel garbage. Shen Mo tapped the prototype of the dagger with his gloved fingers, and the space metallic luster of debris matching the autopsy danced on his fingertips. His tone was as calm as dead water. Take stock. Blueprint symbols X 47.3, Y theta 9, your signature is encrypted. Gu Xing's memory, black market demonstration of eternal nodes, killing without traces. Li Wei's double image, 8 Hz visual lock, full-time afterimage without entity. Shen Qingqing's double, real body channel kill, projection the backdoor lure, the east side of the avatar is covered by blue light. Call for help, Shen Hao's real body, hidden node. His eyes scanned the sweat on Chen Feng's forehead, the veins of the studio wall glowed faintly, and the blue light pulsed in sync with the city's alarm. The rain outside the window distorted the neon lights, and passers-by screamed, the crack is expanding. The blue liquid is crawling on the street, and the blockade of the mansion area has failed. The communicator exploded, and Lu Zei's voice was like a roar crushed by slurry, boss. The iron door was opened, deep in the black zone slurry pool. Damn it, parallel corpses. Another Shen Hao, his throat was cut, but the wound was reversed, the left side accurately avoided the aorta. Side effects of the pupil freezing stabilizer, the window of death coincides with 21 to 2300 hours. The radiation surges to 2.5 millisieverts, the animal breath is beating at 8 Hz, the blue blood on our ankles in the radiation suit climbs, the fat legs fall to the ground, and the woman holds the instrument and gasps. No corpse shift. This is a real corpse hiding place. The crack bridge at the end of the passage leads directly to the parallel space. The metal vein symbols are crawling beside the plasma pool. The machine, return my life. The fat police officer's cry was superimposed, the army, double corpse. We dug in despair for half an hour, the blue light swallowed the knee, the corpse flashed, the throat injury was reversed and killed in the mirror. The experts in the bureau are stuck, the crack is spreading throughout the area, we can't stand it. Behind the iron gate, the whispers were like 1,000 insects gnawing at the bones, echoing, Chen Feng, node, murderous intention. Outside the rain curtain, the cracks in the city were filled with blue light. The silence in the audience reached its limit. Shen Mo's windbreaker bulged in the ozone mist. He grabbed the communicator and said in a tone like laser cutting, Lu Zhe. Sample collection. DNA rapid test, debris comparison. Gu Sheng, communicate her to rush to the mansion and identify the bridge. Seal the black area and the source of the grouting. He turned to Chen Feng and projected the reconstructed blueprint section, the zombie living room in the main world, parallel to the end of the corpse slurry pool, and the passage was winding and superimposed on 3 lines, the back door projection, Li Wei's afterimage, the crack cover, and the real killing node. If you want to rise, you should suppress it first. Lower it, 2 corpses are injured, and the timeline bifurcates. Rebound, you control the bridge, cross the killer Shen Hao, and create contradictions in the testimonies. Gu Xing flashes when he sees his true body, Li Wei locks the ghost of the mask, and Shen Qingqing projects the back door, perfect absence, 3 lines superimposed. The door of the studio burst open and Gu Xing rushed in. Rain mixed with silvery tears. Her knees fell weakly to the ground. Bloody marks from digging her fingernails scratched the veins of the floor. The silvery pupils of her pupils burst into tears and she screamed, Detective Shen. Army Communications asked me to come here. 2 corpses in the black area. The passage is a crack bridge designed by Chen Feng. All parallel memories flashed, his black market demonstration, the mask's real body entering the Theta 9 interface, the projected clone meeting, the clone's rear door luring Qingqing, the clone's crack escape from Gu Sheng, I owe everything. Li Wei's ghost is locked on the retina due to the bridge delay, 8 Hz is eternal. Shen Hao's diary is 500 million in debt, and he threatens to expose the corpse, and the node is linked to the whole city. Her fingers trembled and pointed at Chen Feng, her voice choked like a ghost, you, the node will kill without a trace. Multiple timelines of massacre, the main world corpse projection lures us, the parallel real killing pool is displayed. Chen Feng's body swayed, and his fist hit the glass cabinet. The prototype of the dagger trembled, and the fragments of the stabilizer clinked to the ground. He retreated and knocked down the blueprint stand. The projection grid collapsed into ripple fragments, and his voice broke like a candle in the wind, parallel corpses. Shen Hao, how heavy. Nonsense, the passage is pure escape, 500 million prototypes are resistant to distortion, and it is not a murder weapon. His silver pupils flashed like explosions, sweat dripped down the side of his neck, and the cracks in the studio wall swelled, and the blue light spray formed a river and climbed to the edge of the carpet to bubble. The communication exploded again, and Lu Zhe roared through the noise, boss. The DNA quick test is out, and the Bureau's quantum machine compares, the 2 corpses are 100% consistent with Shen Hao. The main world's throat is cut to the right, parallel to the left, the death posture is mirrored, the side effects of the pupil freeze stabilizer are the same, the debris track channel is crawling. Fat sampling the woman's hands shook and she vomited. The third body's ghost flashed in the depths of the plasma measurement pool. The middle line of the throat was injured. The cracks expanded. The walls of the black area swelled with fluids. We sealed the door with guns. The radiation suit melted the ankles. Gu Xing's heartbeat was synchronized with the whole city's alarm. We couldn't suppress it. The blue light swallowed our waists. Chen Feng stared back and bumped his back against the gap in the wall. Blue pulp splashed onto his suit. He held his head and murmured, his voice trembling and panicked, she is crazy. The bridge does not exist, the prototype dagger is anti-distortion test, and the 500 million investment is at risk of self-destruction. But his eyes evaded like frequency collapse, ripples surged deep in the silver pupils, and the veins of the wall hummed and amplified in response. The fat police officer in the background cried and worshipped, "Army." The DNA evidence of the two corpses is irrefutable. We have been digging for pulp for half an hour. You are hot-blooded. Detective Shen is the remote command god. IQ crushes the cracks and solves all the murderous intentions in multiple timelines. The female police officer gasped in admiration, shocking, the flesh swallowed the person, the two corpses re-injured the mirror image, and the experts in the bureau knelt down. The vein symbols crawled on X-47.3, linked to the crisis explosion. Shen Mo's gaze was like a black hole swallowing Chen Feng. He stepped closer. The windbreaker hunter rolled up the blue air wave, and held down the prototype dagger with his gloves. The projection exploded into a superimposed simulation of two corpses, the passage and bridge bifurcated the timeline, the main killer projected to lure evidence, the parallel real corpses created conflicts, and the nodes pulsated to connect the whole city. Cracked. Preliminary puzzle, forged testimony on the passage bridge. You travel through parallels, kill Shenhao's clone, the laryngeal injury mirror avoids inspection, the corpse projection of the main world is delayed by 8 Hz, Gu Xing escapes through cracks, Li Wei's ghost lock, Qingqing's backdoor lure, the absence is perfect. The diary owes 500 million, the prototype wraps stabilizers with 500 million, and the debris and blood match. The conspiracy is revealed, the node hub, not an escape, is the bridge of eternal murder. Gu Xing climbed up and hugged the hem of Shen Mo's windbreaker, bursting into tears and trembling. God, parallel memories are flashing with despair, you count the 3 lines superimposed, and all the pseudo-words on the bridge are peeled off. Chen Feng's eyes are locked, and the silver thread explodes. Chen Feng smashed his knees to the ground, his face twisted into a mask of fear, his silver pupils exploded with blue liquid, and he screamed in despair, "Enough. You. IQ monster." But the node is opened, the parallel tide is unstoppable, and the 500 million exposures are destroyed. His fists hit the ground, the veins responded to the expansion, and the studio's blue light gathered around his ankles like a fountain. Climax emotional explosion. The supporting characters in the audience were shocked, Gu Xing stared and dislocated, knelt down and worshipped and murmured, "Crush, the 3 lines of the DNA of the 2 corpses are completely solved, we are parallel and desperate, your eyes glance, the bridge explodes." The roadside policeman peeked through the window, secretly worshipping. Detective Shen angrily scolded the architect, the projection revealed the multi-timeline massacre. God, solve the mystery before the cracks widen. Lu Zai's communication was frantic, "Boss." Angrily denounced God, Chen Feng collapsed. We sealed off the black area, and the 3rd shadow corpse flashed and injured, but the whisper deep in the plasma pool turned into a roar, "Chen Feng, the bridge, the whole city is swallowed up." The cracks expanded, and the experts took half an hour, and we radiated the top. Shen Mo scolded like a thunder cracking cracks, "Chen Feng. Hidden corpses and bridges, multiple lines of killings, node-linked crises, your eternal murderous intention has stopped. Handcuff him and interrogate him." He pointed at the projection with his finger, and the blueprint symbol locked on Chen Feng's signature, and his momentum was pushed to the limit. But Chen Feng flashed a sinister smile, and the whirlpool in the wall exploded and swallowed his figure, leaving only the afterimage of the projection and roaring, "Stop. Theta9 is always on, the nodes in the city are my blueprint." The holographic screen on the studio table flashed a provocative message, "Shen Mo, the 2 corpses are only the prelude. 3 lines and 4 lines are endless. Parallel tides are coming. Catch me. See you deep in the node." Architect, the blue river climbed up to the edge of Shen Mo's boots, the veins of the wall jumped wildly, and the city's alarm blared, "Cracks are widening, warning. Parallel tide surges in the luxury area, evacuate." The river of blue pulp in the studio snakes and climbs like a living thing, the carpet bubbles and bursts with silver bubbles, the smell of ozone is as strong as if the lungs are soaked in corrosive fluid, and every breath pulls at the inner wall of the trachea. The remaining blue light swirling in the cracks in the wall pulsed like a heart twitching, reflecting Chen Feng's provocative message on the holographic screen, "Two Corpses Overture." The third and fourth lines are endless, parallel tides come, and you can see them deep in the nodes. The handwriting is twisted into a worm track, and the ink slowly drips from the edge, and merges into the blue river deep in the ankle. Gu Xing's scream stuck in her throat and turned into choked gasps. Her knees hit the ground, and the blood marks dug out by her fingernails flashed X 47.3 on the vein symbol. The silver threads in her pupils were like broken spider webs. She broke down and muttered, "Escaped." The wall swallowed him. The message is alive. "Boss, we chase." The third zombie entity in the black area, the roar is heard throughout the city. The hem of Shen Mo's windbreaker was soaked in blue paste, and the soles of his boots were melting. He grabbed the communicator, and the crumbs on the fingertips of his gloves jumped to match the prototype of the dagger. His tone was like an ice blade cutting and buzzing. "Lu Zhe, Theta 9 swallowed the crack in the wall of Chen Feng's studio, leave a message to confirm the depth of the node." The third corpse in the black area has a midline throat injury, rapid sample collection, and the source of grouting. Gu Sheng, details of the black market demonstration, the bridge is one way. But the communication burst noise is like a beast's roar. Lu Zhe's voice, the voice was crushed by the slurry, "Boss." Blue River swallowed the waste, radiated 3.8 millisieverts, the fat radiation suit melted and fell to the ground twitching, vomiting blood and worshipping your command in despair. The third corpse's throat was cut, the entity crawled out of the slurry pool, and the DNA machine burned the ghost flashing the fourth line. "We can't seal it, the walls are bulging and the veins are jumping all over the city. Passers-by and vehicles are screaming and running away in the luxury area. Chen Feng's traces, the maglev surveillance is locked, and the heat signal of the prototype generator is soaring." The rain curtain outside the window distorted the neon lights into will-o'-the-wisps, and passers-by smashed the windows and peeked into the studio, causing panic. Detective Shen angrily scolded the architect for escaping into the cracks in the wall, and blue paste crawled through the streets, and the whole city's alarm went off. "It's amazing, but the cracks are widening, and we can't stand it." Gu Xing climbed up and hugged Shen Mo, his arms trembling, tears mixed with blue paste and fell down. Parallel flashes in despair. The black market Chen Feng demonstrated the one-way Theta 9 to carry out parallel killing, and returned to the main world to project the clone, and he controlled the three-line pseudo-words. But Shen Qingqing. She is alive with the symbols hidden in the blueprint, and the identity of the widow is owed by 500 million, and the coordinates of her screams outside the double projection door are linked. Shen Mo's eyes swept over the holographic blueprint projection, and the two corpses were superimposed and simulated. The right corpse in the living room of the main world was delayed, the parallel plasma pool reflected the real corpse on the left, and the third centerline entity ghost flashed. The passage meandered and branched into 4 lines, and the symbols pulsated like a living snake. But the residual image of Shen Qingqing's handbag appeared on the edge of the blueprint, and ink bubbles crawled Y Theta 9. He clenched his fist slightly, and wrong reasoning emerged like a shadow. Shen Qingqing. The double real body sofa handcuffs collapsed and denied, and the ghost outside the door swallowed and screamed. The widow's hidden blueprint was complete. The passage was designed. Gu Sheng asked her to communicate with her, and forced her to write a parallel record. Gu Sheng's pupils shrank, and his voice was filled with fear. "Boss. God recommended, but she witnessed different murders in parallel. We are at a disadvantage, and the studio is buzzing at the same time." The communication switched, and Shen Qingqing's voice came from the locked area of the sofa. The double residual sounds in the background were superimposed like a ghost chorus. "Detective Shen. Chen Feng left a message. The two corpses messed up my brain. I deny it. The blueprint is purely the husband's relic, the passage escape has no murderous intent, and 500 million is owed. The debtor Chen Feng threatened to be exposed, and my call proved that the crime happened at home." But her tone trembled, and the transcript projection popped up. the parallel version Shen Qingqing recorded, it was not Shen Hao who cut the throat, but the man with blue light on the east side stabbed the heart, and there was no trace of the back door at 22:45. Shen Mo's gloves tapped the fragments of the prototype dagger, and the luster of the fragments danced. Take stock of the cracks. Main transcript backdoor 22:15 lure, parallel heart stabbing 22:45 blue light, double testimonies are mutually exclusive, you conspired to hide the blueprint, projection the clone is really killing me. Shen Qingqing gasped and collapsed, and the lock of the sofa was clanging, nonsense. The parallel memory was misplaced, I saw the east side of Chen Feng's mask, it was not me. The double shadow swallowed my legs, the coordinates were connected to the whole city. Spare me. Gu Sheng's eyes widened and trembled as if he were dislocated. He hugged the hem of Shen Mo's windbreaker and worshipped in panic, the boss's IQ crushed him and forced a confession. The double clearance collapsed, and the transcripts were mutually exclusive and irrefutable evidence of conspiracy emerged. But we suppressed despair, the blue waste was deep and smelly, the lungs were burning, the veins in the wall were beating wildly and the black area was roaring. The police outside the studio door kicked in, the rain jacket was soaked with blue water, and the legs of the fat police officer were kneeling softly, she vomited and worshipped, Shen Shen. Qingqing's dual transcripts are parallel to the heart-piercing blue light. You exposed the conspiracy from afar. Our streets were broken by the blue tide for half an hour and our legs were broken in despair. The female police officer hugged the instrument and gasped and trembled, shocking and frightening. The crack warning screen is full screen, the veins of the mansion are red, the blue liquid river climbs 3 meters on the street, and passers-by are screaming and worshipping your command. The dark clouds of the crisis were overwhelming, and Lu Zhe's blood roared through his body, boss. Chase Chen Feng's laboratory in the east area, break through the door, the crack generator prototype explodes. The blue light sphere pulses X 47.3, the symbol crawls alive on the wall, the stabilizer formula matches the autopsy metal, and the dagger wrapped in fragments falls to the east hidden door. His true identity? The projection meeting is not here field, but the generator records that the Theta 9 one-way travel starts at 2200 hours and returns to the main world at 2300 hours. The fat sampling hands tremble and worship you for the 3-line divine solution. We seal the generator. The fourth shadow of the plasma pool flashes. The radiation is 5 millisieverts and the heartbeat is 8 Hz beast synchronization. The mansion wall bursts and the countdown is 30 minutes. Shen Mo grabbed the complete projection of Shen Qingqing's blueprint. He hunted in the windbreaker and rolled up the blue pulp air wave. He held the symbol with his gloves to bubble the ink. The vein curve superimposed the channel profile, the main world backdoor camouflage, the hidden door magnetic field on the east side was distorted by 20%, the underground black area node, the one-way Theta 9 arrow was straight and parallel, allowing entry and killing without returning to the corpse. Compare the rifts. The blueprint design is one-way travel, and the generator records are consistent. Chen Feng's true body enters the parallel channel to kill the left anti-zombie, the clone is not present in the main projection meeting, and the 3-line pseudo-words overlap the 4-line entity. But the shadow of wrong reasoning is still pressing, Shen Qingqing's dual records are mutually exclusive like a whirlpool, and his tone is as deep as dead water. Qingqing's conspiracy has emerged, the blueprint contains a one-way arrow, is your widow's knowledge of the projection cover. Gu Sheng's knees suddenly fell on the blueprint projection, her parallel memory silver pupils flashed, she picked out the bleeding marks with her fingernails and scratched the difference in symbols, her voice trembled and she collapsed. No. Boss is wrong, the difference in the parallel world blueprint is exposed. My version of Theta 9, the channel is not one-way, but a two-way bridge, but Chen Feng locked the return code, he manipulated all the testimonies. Black market demonstration, the real body of the mask enters the parallel to kill Shen Hao's clone, returns to the master clone meeting, clears the backdoor lure, Gu and I split seam escape, Li Wei's ghost lock, I owe money to witness the symbol mutation, the deletion of the arrow in the main blueprint is pseudo-unidirectional, and Qingqing's unknowing mutual exclusion is the memory misalignment he implanted. The diary encrypted coordinate matching generator, Chen Feng manipulates the parallel tide. Her fingers trembled and pointed at the projection difference, the ink bubbles gathered into Chen Feng's signature ripples, her pupils worshipped and feared, God, you force Qingqing to double collapse, revealing conspiracy to suppress despair, I parallelly completed the difference to explode Chen Feng's plan. Gu Xing screamed and held his head, missing, leave a provocative message. The bridge is connected, shall we chase? Lu Zhe shouted in the communication, boss. The studio wall cracked, Chen Feng was swallowed up. The third corpse in the black area plasma pool materialized, his throat was cut, and his cry for help turned into laughter, eternal killing without a trace. Shen Qingqing's communication collapsed and howled, and the real body's sofa locks shook wildly, Gu Sheng, tell the truth. The parallel stabbing in the heart was implanted by Chen Feng. I have no conspiracy, and the blueprint husband gave me no arrows. I am misplaced and desperate. The fat policeman knelt down outside the door to worship and twitched, Gu Sheng's parallel blueprint is different. In addition, Shen Shen's wrong reasoning to suppress the conspiracy was revealed, and Chen Feng's manipulation was exposed. The radiation burned our lungs and worshipped us. The female police officer screamed and held her head in admiration, the generator is one-way disguised, the bridge's two-way lock is back, and the testimony is implanted completely. The reversal first appeared like a crack in a lightning strike, the black hole in Shen Mo's gaze swallowed up the projection, and the shadow of the error shattered, the error peeled off. Clear and clear, the difference in the blueprint is irrefutable evidence. Chen Feng deleted the main version of the pseudo one-way, the generator record returned to 2300 hours, the conference projection masked the true identity, and the absence was perfect. 4-line expansion, medium-sized throat injury generator delay lock. But the crisis is approaching its peak, and the holographic screen alarm is blasting, the crack warning is the highest. The veins in the mansion area are melting, and the blue slurry surges 10 meters, and the evacuation fails and the parallel nodes are swallowed up. Gu Xing screamed and hugged Shen Mo, and the studio pulsed in sync with the mansion, boss. The early warning collapsed, Chen Feng's deep node, we are chasing the generator at a disadvantage. Parallel tide. Shen Mo stepped on the wave, grabbed the blueprint symbol with his gloves to lock the coordinates of the generator, and the ozone mist bulged in his windbreaker. Lu Zhe, protect the prototype of the generator, and the maglev rushes to the laboratory. Gu Sheng, parallel difference locks Chen Feng's return code. Qingqing, dual records are implanted to trace the source. But the cracks in the wall swelled and the new whirlpool buzzed, and the whispers roared amplified the audience, the bridge, collapsed, the node is always open. The ground in the distance of the mansion screamed like a beast waking up, and passers-by screamed in fear, Shen Shen. Before the collapse, the generator chased Chen Feng, and suppressed the cracks. The blue slurry in the studio has reached the waist, and is as viscous as the peristalsis of living intestines. Every pulse pulls at the skin and makes a sizzling, corrosive roar. The smell of ozone is as strong as rust juice filling the throat. Every time the lungs expand, it feels like they are being scraped against the wall by invisible claws. The whirlpool and the cracks in the wall swelled to the size of a fist, and the veins of blue light were like dormant poisonous snakes spitting messages. They gathered into a river and rushed straight to the ceiling. The broken crystal chandelier was broken, and the metal fragments of the chandelier rolled in the pulp, reflecting the twisted insect track of Chen Feng's message on the holographic screen, see you in the depth of the node. The 3 words were like a heartbeat, and the ink dripped into Gu Xing's ankles, forcing her knees to weaken by half an inch. The blue tide surged 3 meters high in the streets outside. Passers-by and vehicles were half dissolving and screaming. The alarm was as piercing as all the insects gnawing at the eardrums. Countdown to collapse is 12 minutes. Radiation soared to 6 millisieverts, evacuation failed, and the whole city's veins roared simultaneously. The fat policeman was half covered outside the door. His legs were weak and he knelt down and vomited blood. His face was twisted in admiration and fear, Shen Shen. We can't stand it when Blue River swallows his waist. Gu Xing completes the difference and suppresses Chen Feng. But the warning light flashes wildly and the veins of the mansion are melting. The fat radiation suit is completely rotten and twitching and collapses before worshipping your command in despair. Gu Xing's fingers holding the hem of Shen Mo's windbreaker were blue and white and bleeding, her silver pupils flashed with parallel afterimages, and her voice was as choked as broken glass. Boss, the two-way lock of the bridge is back, Chen Feng controls the whole city to roar, we are at a disadvantage, our knees are broken, our lungs are burning, chasing the deep nodes. My memory black market demonstration, his mask with a sinister smile implanted in Li Wei ghost lock. Her nails dug into the blueprint projection symbol, and the ink bubbled and crawled on X47.3, forming ripples of Chen Feng's signature. However, the ghost of Li Wei's testimony suddenly flashed at the edge of the projection, not a real person's outline, but an afterimage of a distorted mask with blue light. The timeline was locked at 8 Hz frequency at 2145. Shen Mo's mind was like a whirlpool of cracks, and the shadow of mistake still weighed on his heart. Qingqing's double clarification was unparalleled, but the three testimonies were mutually exclusive like an iron net strangulating his neck, and Li Wei's double image was a visual lock on the ironclad evidence. Could it be that Chen Feng had forged it? The inner game is like knife blades cutting each other. If Li Wei fictionalizes it, the testimony triangle collapses, and parallel interchanges of roles emerge, but the difference in the blueprint only fills the bridge. The generator log has not arrived, the deduction is suspended, the collapse warning is threatening the door. Gu Xing worships the fearful eyes like needles piercing his back, his fists are slightly clenched, and his gloves the fragments of the prototype dagger leaped with. Enthusiasm and despair surged into the throat. Gu Xing, the silver thread that stabilizes the pupils. Testimony restripping, Gu cracks at 2130, Qingqing back door at 2215, Li Wei's ghost image at 2145 is fully locked. Parallel version of three-line swapping, role rotation, irrefutable proof that Li Wei is fake. Gu Xing's pupils shrank as if struck by lightning, her knees smashed into pulp and blood spattered. She hugged Shen Mo with trembling arms and collapsed in worship. Boss. God. My parallel theta, 9, the black market Li Wei is not human, it is the afterimage locked retina projected by Chen Feng's generator. During the demonstration the mask flashed all the time, and her testimony was implanted in an exchange. I turned into a backdoor lure, he escaped through the cracks, and the blue light stabbed my heart in parallel, and he controlled the three false iron triangles of truth. Her voice elongated into a scream, and her silver pupils flashed with parallel blueprints. Different symbols crawling like snakes, the fat police officer heard outside the door, his legs were weak, he rolled his eyes and vomited, worshipping. Gu Pingping is crazy about Li Wei's forgery. Shen's mind is spinning, the three certificates are exchanged to expose Chen Feng's conspiracy. We have no breasts and are desperate to worship with wisdom and overcome the cracks. The female police officer gasped and knelt down while holding the instrument, her cheeks mottled with blue pulp twisted in fear, shocking and frightening. Li Wei's ghost generator lock, non-real person rotating character, crawling 5 meters on the blue tide street, passers-by and cars screamed, our legs were broken, twitching and worshipping Shen before collapse. Shen Mo's windbreaker hunted the body waves, and the timeline in his mind was superimposed and deduced like a blueprint section. First peel off Li Wei's fake, the triangle collapsed, then locked the generator log, Chen Feng's real body trajectory floated, but the disadvantage was overwhelming, the body swallowed the chest, the radiation heartburn 8 Hz animal breath synchronized pulse. He gritted his teeth and said to himself, one wrong step, the whole city is swallowed up. Gu Xing is only half complete, and the log hammer is needed to smash the plan. But the communication exploded and the beast roared, and Lu Zhe's hot blood penetrated the early warning noise, boss. The maglev broke through the hidden door in the East District, and Chen Feng's hiding place was raided, the generator log was captured. The X47.3 symbol of the hot exploding blue light sphere climbed the wall, recording multiple Theta-9 traversals. Killing test, 2100 hours parallel Shen Hao left reverse slit throat, stabilizer delayed 30 minutes ghost lock, 2200 hours. Main the real body of the world passage cut into the living room at 2300 hours. The clone was not present at the projection meeting at 2300 hours. The debris track of the dagger prototype fell to the east side and crawled into the pulp pool. The fourth shadow system delayed the test afterimage. The pulp pool in the black area roared to the whole city. The fat policeman fell down and vomited blood to worship your turntable prediction. We sealed the log and pressed it. The afterimage Chen phone whispered, 3 certificates of rotation, deep tide. Communication pops up from the log projection. Shen Mo grasps the symbolic context with his gloves, and the game in his mind is like a lightning strike. Log matching deduction. Chen Feng first kills the left anti-zombie in parallel, the bridge two-way lock regression code pseudo one-way master blueprint, the hidden door magnetic field on the east side of the channel 20% distortion to cover up traces. The real body Theta-9 came in and out and cut the Lord's right throat. The projection clone was perfectly absent from the meeting. 3 certificates were rotated and implanted. Li Wei's pseudo-ghosting locked vision, Lu Qingqing's exchange of backdoors lured him to escape, and the exposure of the debt diary of 500 million threatened all locks. But the shadow in my heart is pressing again. There is no arrow in the clear blueprint, and the key is hidden. The conspiracy was not revealed yet, and the collapse was 10 minutes. His tone was cold and dead. Lu Zhe, the log locked the real body track at 2200 hours, the passage concealed the irrefutable evidence. Qingqing, confess and conceal it. The blueprint husband's relic, the key is under the hidden door on the east side. Dual records are mutually exclusive and implanted. Do you know the projection cover-up? The residual sounds of Shen Qingqing's communication overlapped with the chorus of ghosts. The real body's sofa locks jingled and shook wildly, and the double shadow outside the door screamed, and the coordinates were linked to the whole city. She howled and collapsed like her soul was shattered. Detective Shen, spare your life. The key is hidden. It is the mezzanine of her husband's diary. The underground meeting point X, 47.3 on the east side of the hidden door rotates and opens. I'm afraid that Chen phone will be exposed to the 500 million yuan, and the phone call at home is not a string. The parallel stabbing blue light is the flash of his implanted mask, and I saw the channel key flashing with murderous intent. Her voice turned into bloodshot. The complete version of the projected blueprint symbols gathered the key coordinates, and the ink crawled directly to the black area node Y Theta-9. Gu Sheng's eyes widened and he was trembling. He looked at the projection and picked out the blood stains to verify. What a great boss. The ironclad evidence of the Qingqing confessing key matches the black market demonstration. The bridges in Huihei district on the east side are fully opened. Chen Feng rotated 3 certificates and Li Wei's fake solution. The fat police officer heard outside the door knelt down and rolled in worship and twitched. Qingqing Bentan key. Shen the cover was removed from the far side, and the blueprint was transferred to X 47.3. We worshipped Gigi with our necks full of despair, and we held our heads in fear as we screamed. The log was passed through the test, the log hammer smashed the timeline, the channel covered the real body and cut the throat, and our 8-part legs turned into pulp and worshipped. Shen Mo's inner game reaches its peak, and the timeline deduction is like a blueprint of a dancing snake. 2100 hours parallel left counterattack, stabilizer delayed ghosting and third center line throat injury. 2200 hours real body Theta-9 channel east side key opens the hidden door, main world living room cuts Shen Hao to the right, debris track crawls into the plasma pool to cover up. 2300 hours locks the return code projection clone meeting is not present. Li Wei fake ghosting 8 Hz locks the retina. 3 certificates are rotated and implanted in misplacement. Perfect multi-line murder. The shadow of the error was peeled off, and the feeling was like a crack bursting with blue light, but he suppressed the corner of his mouth. The windbreaker bulged with ozone mist, and the glove lock log plus blueprint were superimposed. Game lock. Chen Feng's 4-line killing rule, parallel cutting left first, main body's right channel cover, delayed ghosting mid-throat deflection, projection clone not present rotation for perjury. Disadvantage reverse, predict the opening of the crack, 8 Hz beast breath after the generator heat explosion synchronously, the tide surges in the depths of the node at 2330, and the entire city's bridges are connected to the X47.3 hub. The entire communication field is buzzing with static electricity, and Lu Zhe shouts, "The boss predicts." The log records the test tide at 2330, and the residual image of Chen Feng confirms the depth, and we protect the prototype and rush to the maglev. The counterattack plan was beginning to appear. Shen Mo stepped into the river and splashed deep into the waves. He grabbed the communicator and commanded like thunder, "Lu Zhe, protect the log plus prototype and go straight to the black area node of the mansion, seal the X47.3 hub." Gu Sheng, parallel pupil lock return code, tracing the source of Li Wei's falsehood, the double real body moved outside the shackles area, and the projection coordinate generator appeared at 2330. Gu Sheng's pupils were filled with admiration, and he folded his arms in trembling worship. Boss's mind is predicted to be 23-3. The tide is turning, we are chasing Chen Feng. The fat female police officer gasped and knelt down in worship, reversed the glimmer of light. Shen's game peeled off the 4 lines, forced the key, and preliminarily cracked, and we worshipped with 6 points of radiation from the top of our necks. The holographic screen warned. After 5 minutes of counting, the whispers in the cracks in the wall amplified like the roar of all beasts, "Turn around, surge, forever open." But Shen Mo's eyes were black holes swallowing up the projection, and he sneered in his heart, "Chen Feng, deep node, your perfect absence is digging your own grave." Lu Zhe's communication beast roared through the warning, "Boss. The generator is blocked." Chen Feng's residual image grinned and whispered, "See you in the depths." The fourth shadow of the black area's plasma pool flashed with its throat cut, the red light of the mansion's wall crack warning flashed wildly, the veins of the iron gate swelled, all our radiation suits had no legs and soft tops, and the fat ones cried out that you are overwhelmed by the difference in the god's carousel. Collapse? Are we digging for node sources? Gu Sheng's coordinates have shifted and the whole city is roaring. The blue pulp in the studio has crawled to the chest, and is as sticky as insects gnawing at the heart. Every pulse synchronized 8 Hz beast roar makes the ribs crack and crack. The corrosive smell of ozone penetrates the nasal cavity and burns the alveoli. The vortex in the wall crack swells to the size of an adult's waist. The veins of blue light are like a living snake gnawing at the metal beams and columns. A rain of debris rains down on the pulp surface and splashes of blood. The countdown on the holographic screen flashed wildly for 3 minutes and 59 seconds, and the red letters twisted into the afterimage of Chen Feng's sinister smile, "Rotating tides, always open to the depths." The blue tide outside the door swallowed up the streets and alleys 7 meters high, passers-by and vehicles half melted and screamed into foam, the fat police officer's neck was numb, he rolled his eyes and vomited blood clots, his legs twitched and he knelt down to worship in despair, Shen. Gu swallowing the black area, our breasts burned with 9 millisieverts of radiation and our hearts exploded. Before the collapse, we worshipped your mental reversal. The female police officer hugged the instrument and turned half into pulp, her face twisted in fear and gasping, shocking and frightening. The coordinates of the wall Theta-9 are offset by X47.3, Chen Feng, the hostage, smiles ferociously, our legs are broken, our lungs are broken, and we are desperate to obey God's orders. Shen Mo's windbreaker bulges with ozone mist, gloves and iron pliers lock the blueprint projection symbol veins, the 4 lines of the timeline in the brain dance like a blueprint living snake, 2100 hours parallel left reverse throat cut first kill stabilizer delayed ghosting middle line throat injury 30 minutes lock. 2200 hours real body Theta-9 east side hidden door key opens the main world living room right cut debris track climbing the plasma pool is covered up, the 2300 hours lock returns and the projection. Clone is not present at the meeting, Li Wei's pseudo-ghosting 8 Hz retinal lock 3 certificates are rotated and implanted into the iron triangle, but Gu Sheng swallows the coordinate black area, the 2330 surge prediction is close to his neck, and his inner game is like knife blades cutting each other. Chasing the deep reversal, the inferior body swallows the whole city, makes a wrong step and is trapped in the rotation forever. The fragments of the prototype dagger trembled with enthusiasm as his fists trembled. He gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, "Chen Feng, deep in the grave, your generator is overloaded and weak, and the four-line law is the chain that strangles the neck." With one step, he stepped into the river and his chest was blasted by the waves. His windbreaker tore through the blue light and he rushed towards the seam of the wall with blood-stained paw prints. Ripples on the wall burst open the hidden passage, blue light swallowed the body like thousands of needles piercing the bones, and ozone juice was poured into the throat and pulled into the parallel edge. The passage is as cold as the abyss of a tomb, and the river of blue liquid pulses waist-deep and swallows the ankles. The metal veins of the wall are twisted into the afterimage of a grinning mask, and the whispering beast roars synchronize with the heartbeat, rotation, hostage, surge. The radiometer roars at 12 millisieverts, the skin is blistered and corroded, and the air is inconsistent like the superposition of parallel theta-9. The black area node of the eastern convergence point appears in the blueprint section of the main world mansion, and the debris track of the hidden door fragment climbs the zenith and drips from the ink sync Y theta-9 hub. Shen Mo's glove grasped the stabilizer transaction sheet to match the autopsy, and his mind was peeled off. Chen Feng's blueprint deleted the pseudo one-way arrow and exposed the return of the two-way bridge lock, and the debt diary of 500 million threatened to lock all. But the disadvantage was overwhelming, and the river swallowed his shoulders. Gu Xing's scream echoed in front of him like his soul was shattered. He suppressed the despair in his throat, and moved forward with a wave of windbreaker. Gu Xing, lock the silver-threaded pupils. Chen Feng's generator is overloaded after the heat explosion, and the tide will be exposed at 23:30. The node in the black area at the end of the passage exploded into the Blue Mang River, and the plasma pool was 3 meters deep. The fourth shadow was tumbling with a partial throat afterimage and roared throughout the city. Shen Hao's multiple corpses were phantom floating and floating, the main body was cut to the right, parallel to the left, the third midline entity, the fourth throat deflection time-lapse test, DNA froze the pupil ghost and smiled ferociously. Gu Xing was half submerged by the iron chain, her silver pupils flashed parallel afterimages, her knees were weak and twitching, and her body was covered with blood. The man in the mask was ghosted in the projection meeting and was surrounded by low roars, "Boss! God is chasing me deep down." After Chen Feng tied me to the black market demonstration, the theta-9 bridge was fully open for 3 certificates. We, the weak ones, swallowed our lungs and burned to worship you. Her voice was bloodshot, her fingernails jingled and trembled, and her fearful and worshipful eyes were like needles pricking Shen Mo's back. Chen Feng emerged from the depths of the slurry pool. His real body mask was smiling with blue light. The X-47.3 symbol of the generator prototype's hot blue light sphere was crawling alive on the wall. He was holding a prototype space metal dagger wrapped in a stabilizer to match the debris. His smile was distorted like cracks and ripples. "Shen Mo, welcome to the deep node." The perfect criminal show-off, the two-way lock of the crack bridge, which makes the testimony contradictory, the 3 evidence rotation Li-Wei pseudo-ghosting 8 Hz lock retina, Gu crack 2130, Qingqing backdoor 2215, my projected clone 2300 hours meeting is not present, the police are trapped in a loop chasing multiple corpses. Parallel counterattacks from the left, the main channel's real body is cut to the right, the ghost's throat is delayed, and the whole city's blue tide is always pulsing, and the blueprint projection is holographic. The symbol of the complete version of the husband's relic is bubbling. The interlayer of the debt diary is exposed to the theta-9 record of the 500 million coordinate anastomosis generator, the measured magnetic field of the channel is distorted by 20% in the black area of the hidden door on the east side, the mask ghosts the wall cracks and the blue light flashes eastwards, and the implantation of Shen Qingqing's parallel stabbing is ironclad evidence of heart dislocation. Shen Mo's windbreaker hunts the waves, and the lightning strikes in the brain game, showing off is a flaw, and after the generator is overloaded and exploded, the 8 Hz beast breath simultaneously exposes the true trajectory. But the plasma pool swallowed his neck, and the radiation heartburn reached 14 millisieverts. Gu Xing screamed and collapsed in worship, "Boss God pressure." Chen Feng's black market conspiracy to demonstrate the discrepancy in the debt blueprint is irrefutable evidence. We are desperate and desperate. Chen Feng started the generator with a grin, and the blue light sphere exploded. Multiple phantom clones exploded, dozens of masked ghosts surrounded with ferocious smiles, dagger fragments trailed up the plasma pool, monitoring static interference 22:00 Theta 9 pseudo one-way return record was activated at 2300 hours, whispering and shouting, revolving murderous intent, forever trapped. The clones rushed together, the blue light veins were like poisonous snakes biting the arms, the ozone juice burned the skin and sizzled, Shen Mo dodged and rolled, the fragments of the glove lock prototype jumped into the hot letter, and he said to himself, overload weak point lock. The thermal explosion of the 4-line back hub X 47.3 veins melted, the real body beat out of sync 8 Hz. The passage outside exploded with thunder, and Lu Zhe roared through the beast's breath, the boss's plan. The maglev broke through the hidden door in the East District, the log guard plus prototype went straight to the black area, the chainsaw, crowbar and gun sealed the X 47.3 hub. The fat policeman melted and his legs were weak, vomiting blood and worshipping your turntable prediction. We are crushing Chen Feng in a radiant gun battle. The gunfire was as dense as a million insects gnawing at the ears. The fat policeman rushed into the passage and knelt down in worship. Brother Lu is so hot-blooded. Stand, our necks will burn, our lungs will explode with radiation, and we will crush each other. The female police officer gasped, held her gun, and her legs were broken, twitching in fear and shock. There were dozens of phantoms in the gunfight. The multiple clones of the generator roared throughout the city, and the passers-by screamed in despair. Card. Lu Zhe dived waist-deep into the pulp pool, spraying fire from his gun and hitting 3 phantoms in the head. Blue light exploded and splashed pulp into the sky, but Chen Feng's real body smiled fiercely and retreated. The generator overheated and buzzed, and the veins of the sphere burned red and the X 47.3 symbol was distorted. Shen Mo seized the flaw, stepped forward with a wave of windbreaker, smashed the fragments of the prototype dagger with iron pliers and pierced the generator sphere. Chen Feng, overload exposure. 4-line regular lock, 2100 hours parallel left anti-stabilizer delayed midline throat injury 30 minutes 8 Hz lock retina, 2200 hours Theta 9 east hidden door key real body right cut debris trajectory climbing pulp pool passage cover, 2300 hours return projection clone meeting was not present. Li Wei's fake ghost image rotates 3 certificates and is implanted in the iron triangle. The two-way bridge difference of the complete version of the debt diary, the exposure of the interlayer of the debt diary, the stabilizer transaction order matching the autopsy generator record, all lock you to dig your own grave. His tone was as cold as a black hole swallowing, and the blueprint section was superimposed in the brain's testimony cracks. Chen Feng's pupils shrank as if struck by lightning, his mask twisted and cracked with a ferocious smile. Impossible, the god is overloaded? The generator sphere exploded with blue sparks, the phantom was exhausted and the pulp pool roared weakly. Lu Zhe's real body roared with hot blood when he pointed the gun at it. The boss is smarter than the god. Insight. The log Theta 9 records are all consistent. We sealed the gun and worshipped the turntable. Gu Xing's silver eyes flashed with admiration, and the iron chain broke and Shen Mo's arms trembled and collapsed. The boss's trump card is reversed. Li Wei's counterfeit was removed, and the two-way lock on the bridge was exposed. We were so weak in our knees that we worshipped and were shocked. The fat police officer knelt on his knees in worship and twitched. Shen peeled off the overload vulnerability. The 4-line real body trajectory locked Chen Feng. Our hearts are radiating. The female police officer screamed and held her head in admiration and fear. The generator melted and the phantom dispersed. Her body beat at 7.2 Hz and the pressure of the gun battle was exposed. Our 9-meter-high legs turned into pulp and worshipped. The communication exploded and Shen howled with residual sounds. Detective Shen is amazing. The ultimate blueprint is unlocked. the full version of the symbol Y39 is rotated on the mezzanine of the husband's relics, the double-body sofa cuffs are moved outwards, and the ghost-swallowing coordinate feeding generator outside the door appears to lure Chen Feng. No collusion, parallel stabbing heart implantation is clarified, and the east side meeting point of the key is fully opened and reversed. The blueprint projection pops up the communication, and the symbol living snake crawls on the seal generator cracks, and passes the sparks extinguished. Chen Fengzhen's knees were weak and half wet, and his mask fell off, revealing a distorted face that widened in fear. The rotation is always opening up, the deep node. But the cracks went wild and threatened the main world to erupt. The veins of the black area slurry pool melted and linked to the whole city, the Blue Mountain River poured into the channel, and the mansion bridge roared 10 meters into the streets. The alarm was piercing. Countdown to collapse is 1 minute. Radiation surges by 20 millisieverts, and the whole city is permanently trapped in the rotation tide. Shen Mo locked his glove on Chen Feng's arm, and the feeling in his heart was like a burst of blue light. He pressed the corner of his mouth. The game is locked, and the perfect absence is an epitaph. Lu Zhe held the gun on his neck and worshipped with blood. The boss's mind crushed all 4 lines. Gu Xing rescued, Qingqing unlocked, we suppressed the whole city's rebellion. Gu Xing folded his arms and trembled. The silver-threaded eyes flashed with admiration. Boss, reversal in the depths. But Chen Feng smiled ferociously and gasped. The whirlpool of the final crack under his feet hummed and swelled, and the blue light swallowed the coordinate Theta-9 and opened forever, revolving, indestructible. The figure was half disappeared, and the ghost of the mask echoed in a whisper, goodbye in the depths. Chen Feng's figure half dissolved into the final rift vortex like inked paste, the Theta-9 blue light veins gnawed at his waist, and the ghost of the mask twisted and echoed in the cracks of the wall, deep. Goodbye. The vortex buzzed and swelled into a hug for 2 people, and ozone-rotten juice sprayed out. Sputtering, the blue light penetrated Shen Mo's nose like a living snake and burned his lungs. Every breath he took was like thousands of needles piercing his heart. The radiometer surged at 25 millisieverts. The skin blistered and corroded. The ceiling beams of the passage cracked and shattered. Debris rained down and blood splashed on the surface. The slurry pool in the black zone node is 5 meters deep and rolling like lava from hell. Shenhao's multicorporeal phantoms are floating and roaring throughout the city. The main line cuts his real throat with blood and splashes on the sofa. The parallel left anti-stabilizer delays the throat injury for 30 minutes and locks the retina with 8 Hz ghosting. The third entity's side throat debris track climbs the wall. The fourth delayed test roars and swallows the streets. And the DNA frozen pupils are superimposed into 5 ghost images. The holographic screen counting down to the collapse twisted and flashed for 29 seconds, and the red letters deformed with a sinister smile. The rotating tide is always opening. The whole city is under 10 meters, and the mansions and bridges are melting and roaring. Outside, the blue tide poured into the channel 15 meters high. Passers-by and vehicles were half melted and screamed into foam. The fat policeman rolled his neck, rolled his eyes, vomited blood clots, legs twitched and knelt down to worship in despair. Shen, his chest is burning and his heart is exploding. The radiation is soaring that our lungs are rotten, and our legs are broken, and we worship you for your reversal. Chen Feng escapes from the deep Theta-9 vortex, and our whole city is trapped in despair. The female police officer held the gun and turned into flesh, her face twisted in fear and screamed, shocking fear. The generator was overloaded and the sparks were extinguished. Shen Mo's windbreaker hunts in tears the blue light. The gloves and iron pliers lock Chen Feng's residual arm with sticky blue pulp, and the game in his mind is like knife blades cutting each other to suppress despair. The pulp swallows the neck and burns the heart. Gu Sheng's knees are weak and his arms are shaking, his silver eyes flash with fear. Lu Zhe's gun the air and the head is hot and blood is panting, waist-deep waves are flowing. The residual sound of Shen Qingqing's communication is howling, and the blueprint projection symbol Y39 hub is bubbling and the ink is crawling and sealing the cracks, but Chen Feng escapes to the depths. The 5-line maze is not locked, and the whole city rotates forever if he makes a wrong step. The fragments of the prototype dagger trembled with enthusiasm as his fists trembled, and he gnashed his teeth in his heart. Chen Feng, 5 lines of self-digging, your whole blueprint is a chain strangulation. After the generator is overloaded, the hub melts, and the Theta-9 vortex exposes the labyrinth of the channel network. The disadvantage pressed down on his throat like thousands of insects eating his bones. The complete version of the blueprint projection symbol, the living snake, gathers at coordinates x 47.3 of the hidden door on the east side, and the ultimate unlock pops up. The passage network is like a maze connecting 5 timelines. The main hub Y Theta-9 two-way bridge lock return code is fully exposed, and Chen Feng deleted the pseudo one-way arrow as irrefutable evidence. The blue light at the edge of the whirlpool shrank for a moment, and Chen Feng's knees weakened and he was pulled out of the pulp river. His mask fell off, revealing a twisted face, his pupils widened in fear and shrinking like a lightning strike. You, the ultimate sandwich of the blueprint? Impossible, the whole thing is stripped away. His voice, the beast roar, broke, synchronously pulsing in chaotic frequency 7.2 Hz was exposed, the residual sphere of the generator cracked, red sparks splashed, and the phantom ghost collapsed and scattered the pulp pool with a weak roar. Lu Zhe roared with blood and penetrated the beast's breath, and sprayed fire from the gun to seal the Theta-9 edge magnetic field distortion by 20%. The layout of the boss god is overwhelming. The log plus prototype Theta-9 records all match the 5-line maze. We use chainsaws to pry the joints and gun battles to press the plasma membrane to worship the wisdom and grind the turntable. The fat policeman's legs softened and he vomited blood. He knelt down and worshipped the reversal. The fat policeman rushed into the passage and his neck was half-rolled, worshipping and convulsing. Brother Lu is under pressure. Shen unlocks the blueprint maze, our radiating heart bursts and we are not desperate to defeat the wisdom. Overwhelming the whole city. The female police officer screamed, her legs were broken, and she was horrified. The gunfight sealed the vortex. The 5-line channel network was exposed to infinite resets, and our 15-meter-long lungs worshipped God's trump card. Gu Xing's silver-threaded eyes flashed with admiration, and the iron chain broke and Shen Mo's arms trembled and collapsed with blood stains. The parallel memory black market fully complements the 5-line rotation of Li Wei's pseudo-ghosting iron triangle, and we worship with fear. Shen Mo's deathly cold tone was like a black hole swallowing him, and he smashed the fragments of the prototype with iron pliers and gloves and stabbed directly into the whirlpool hub Y Theta-9. Chen Feng, all 5 lines of law are locked. The final version of the blueprint exposed the labyrinth of the channel network. The first line 2100 hours parallel left reverse cut throat stabilizer delayed ghosting the middle line throat injury 30 minutes 8 Hz locked retina. The second line 2200 hours the real body Theta-9 east side hidden door the right side of the main living room of the key is cut to cover up the debris track and climbs into the slurry pool passage. The third line 2245 Shen stabbed the heart in parallel with the pseudo backdoor decoy. The fourth line 2300 hours the regression projection clone meeting was not present, Li Wei's pseudo-ghost image was implanted in the iron triangle full-time. The fifth line throat deflection delay test roared the whole city generator log pseudo one-way record matched the DNA pupil freeze code. Difference, exposure of 500 million in the mezzanine of the debt diary, autopsy of the stabilizer transaction order matching, monitoring of static electricity at 22:00 Theta-9, activation of the clone at 2300 hours, channel measured magnetic field distortion, black zone on the east side, full lock, infinite reset, self-digging. The 5 lines of the testimonial fissures superimposed on the brain's deduction blueprint are melted like the veins of a living snake, and the true body trajectory is exposed after the heat explosion. Chen Feng's arm his bladder was corroding, and he screamed in fear, revenge. Shen Hao steals the crack patent. Black market demonstration of 500 million debt, he threatens to expose the blueprint channel network. I reset the 5-line perfect crime, the police will chase multiple corpses in an eternal cycle. But his tone trembled with regret like a needle pricking his heart, his pupils shrank in despair, and the ghost of his mask widened and the blue light flashed across the cracks in the wall. Communication burst, Shen howled, and the real body of the handcuffed sofa collapsed. Detective Shen has the whole solution. The ultimate blueprint, the complete projection of the husband's relics on the mezzanine, the Y-Theta-9 hub rotation, the 5-line maze is exposed, and there is no conspiracy to parallel the heart-piercing clarification. The ghost outside the door swallows the coordinates and feeds the generator to lure you to show up. The east side meeting point of the key is fully opened, patent theft obtaining irrefutable evidence from the mezzanine of the diary to match Chen Feng's motive for revenge. The blueprint projected symbol, the living snake, crawled and sealed the whirlpool crack, the overload spark extinguished the veins and melted, linking the city's Lanmang River to slow down, and the collapse countdown flashed and jumped. 1 minute became a 12-hour warning. The red text was stable, the crack energy monitoring is locked, and the countdown to closure is 11 hours and 59 minutes. The radiation dropped by 15 millisieverts, and the bridge was melted and temporarily closed. Lu Zhe's monitor screamed, and Chen Feng's knees softened as he worshipped. The boss Ziyashin has a complete solution to the 5 lines. The energy calculation is closed for 12 hours, and the whole city is reversed. The fat policeman knelt down to worship and vomited blood. Shen peeled off the 5-line maze motive for revenge. The patent theft diary was exposed, and our necks burned and our lungs were crushed in despair. Lan Chao shrunk 9 meters in worship. The female police officer screamed and held her head in worship, her legs melted into pulp. It was so exciting. Chen Feng was defeated and his knees were weak and he roared. The blueprint was finally unlocked and locked, and the whole city screamed and worshipped the god's trump card. Shen Mo reconstructs the testimony puzzle and has a lightning strike in his mind. Each line is full of murderous phantoms, but the main line of murderer Chen Feng's Theta-9 real body has irrefutable evidence of the right-cut debris track. Gu Xing's crack is completed at 21:30 with a parallel black market demonstration. Shen Qingqing's double backdoor is clarified at 22:15, and Li Wei's ghost 8 Hz generator projection is not a real person and is completely forged. He approached Shen Qingqing for a communication interview, and the glove lock blueprint was projected. Shen Qingqing, the core node of the key is open, the husband's relic sandwich patent has been stolen and threatens to lock the entire lock. Chen Feng's motive for revenge is exposed. Shen Qingqing howled and collapsed. The far end trembled. God detective, have mercy. The Y-Theta-9 vein on the east side of the key is turned, the patent file sandwich is matched with the diary. He stole the crack stabilizer to design a black market demonstration. I concealed the passage escape blueprint without conspiracy. The projection popped up. The key veins turned, the core nodes burst open the hidden chamber deep in the black area. The river of blue liquid pulsated waist deep and swallowed the ankles. The 5-line passage maze appeared in full view, the metal veins on the wall were distorted and the residual image of the grinning mask appeared, and the whispering beast roar synchronized the heartbeat. Rotation. Patent. Revenge. The radiometer dropped to 10 millisieverts, the air was inconsistent like 5 lines superimposed. The black zone hub was exposed on the east side of the section of the blueprint of the mansion in the main world, and the fragments of the hidden door climbed up to the ceiling and dripped ink to gather. Chen Feng's knees were so weak that it reached his chest, his face was distorted with regret and despair, and he screamed with a cracked smile, Shen Mo. The 5 lines have been reset to infinity. I'm taking revenge on Shen Hao for stealing patents and destroying the black market worth 500 million yuan. You're like a maze of blueprints. Defeated, forever. His fingers convulsed and grasped the pulp river, his pupils widened and trembled with fear, and the X-47.3 symbol of the remaining sphere of the generator melted into ironclad dregs. Gu Xing hugged Shen Mo, her arms trembling, her silver-threaded pupils adoring and fearful, and she gasped in admiration, the boss is crushing the 5th line. Chen Feng is defeated and yells for motivation. Our hostages in the black area are weak in the knees and bloody in worship, shocking reversal. Lu Zhe cuffs Chen Feng's knees with a gun, and worships and shouts, the boss turns the wheel and predicts the whole city. Turn off the energy lock in 12 hours, and the patented revenge is overwhelming. The police officers outside knelt down and worshipped, twitching and panicking. Shen Xinji crushed Chen Feng. The whole blueprint of the 5-line maze lock is exposed. We are heartburning and desperate to worship the power. Gu Xing suddenly let go, her silver eyes shining brightly. Her knees went weak and she threw herself at the fragment of the blueprint next to the seam of the wall. Boss, I will lock the return code dash. The figure was half inhabited, the wall vortex hummed and swallowed, the scream stopped abruptly, and only the bloody claw marks X47.3 flickered on the veins. Passers-by outside the studio door screamed in fear, Gu Sheng is missing. The crack in the wall is swallowed by Theta 9, Chen Feng is suspected of kidnapping, and the crisis explodes in front of Shen Shen's layout. Lu Zai's communication beast roared, Boss. Gu Sheng's coordinates have shifted to the black area, and the afterimage of the generator is grinning, in the depths of the hostage. The buzz in the depths of the pulp pool was like the gasping of a dying beast. The Theta 9 blue light veins spasmed and shrank between the beams and pillars. The blue tide slowly retreated to the waist, leaving behind a sticky rotten slurry that reflected the red afterglow of the holographic screen. The countdown to collapse was steady. Locked in for 11 hours and 58 minutes, the needle of the radiometer trembled and dropped back to 8 millisieverts. The burnt smell of ozone in the air faded away and was replaced by damp lime decay. The slight dissonance in the wall cracks was like a 5-line superimposed shadow gently pulsing, as if parallel ghosts were still whispering. Chen Feng's knee-weak body has been half swallowed by the river of liquid, and his remaining arms are bubbling with blue liquid. His twisted face is struggling on the edge of the whirlpool, his pupils shrink into needlepoints with fear, and his ferocious smile breaks into desperate twitches. Shen Mo. The deep node, waiting for you, the 5-line ultimate will turn, immortal. The words broke, and his ankle was violently pulled into the vortex. The mask's shadow on the wall twisted and flashed, turning into blue mist and dissipating, leaving only ripples on the surface gently swinging out, converging into the ink symbol of the hidden door coordinates X47.3, slowly climbing to the zenith. Lu Zai was waist-deep in the river, gasping for hot blood. The muzzle of the gun was still against the aftermath of the air. His knees were shaking slightly but he couldn't hold on. Sweat and blood flowed down his forehead. He stared at Shen Mo with wide eyes. His voice was as hoarse as sandpaper grinding iron. He was filled with admiration. To the point of trembling, Boss, it's amazing. The 5-line maze is completely peeled off. Chen Feng's knees are weak and his motivation is defeated. The energy is locked for 12 hours, and the blue tide shrinks the whole city by 9 meters. We are so radiant that our lungs are burned and our legs are weak and desperate. Now we worship the power of reversal. The whole city was broadcast live, and the fat policeman knelt down outside and screamed, Shen's mind is suppressed, the irrefutable evidence of patent revenge is exposed, and the eternal dream is shattered. The female policeman held the instrument and vomited blood clots in fear, shouting, the Y-Theta-9 hub of the ultimate blueprint is turning, we worship the boss's trump card. Boss, you are famous in the city, the director of the crack is personally called, and the bounty of 500 million patents is transferred, plus full ownership of the Black Zone blueprint, your god status has reached the peak. At the entrance of the passage outside, the fat policeman fell to his knees with half of his body lying on his knees. His neck was burning and blistering. He rolled his eyes, vomited blood clots, twitched and worshipped. His thick fat fingers grabbed the radiation meter and smashed it to the ground. Shen stripped Shen Feng of the 5-line reset. Our legs are broken, our lungs are rotten, the radiation is soaring and desperate, and now the news in the city is scrolling. Genius detective Shen Mo locked up a parallel murder plan, the maze of mansion blueprints was exposed, Chen Feng took revenge on Shen Hao for stealing the patent and swallowed it with his knees. The director personally granted the title of Shen Shen, and all the bounty patents were demonstrated on the black market. We worshipped and reversed the situation and we screamed and saluted. He gasped in twisted fear and worship, and his silver teeth bit his lips to pieces, it's so shocking. The boss god's insight into the blueprint and the 500 million debt diary on the mezzanine are consistent. The blue light-eating beams and pillars outside our door collapsed in panic. Now passers-by and vehicles in the city are worshipping. Shen Shen's reputation burns through the city sky. The crack crisis has been resolved. Bo, we will always kneel down and suppress God's trump card. The communicator blared, and the media in the city were swarming. The screen flashed, Shen Mo's windbreaker silhouette was superimposed on the 5-line blueprint projection, and the title was grinning and deformed, "The space-time rift is locked with murderous intent." Shen Mo crushes the parallel rotation, and Chen Feng digs his own criminal grave. Shen Mo's deathly cold eyes swept across the abyss of the pulp pool. He loosened the fragments of the prototype dagger with the iron pliers of his gloves, letting the hot information jump into the blue pulp. He deduced the aftermath in his mind like a sheathed blade. All 5 lines were locked. Chen Feng's true body trajectory was exposed by heat explosion, the patented revenge motive diary was sandwiched with ironclad evidence, the generator was overloaded and melted all 7.2 Hz random frequency loopholes. Peeling, Gushing parallelly completedly weighs pseudo-ghosting 8 Hz rotating iron triangle to clarify, Shen Qingqing's double backdoor decoy was exposed without conspiracy, the crisis in the city was suspended, and his reputation burned through the night sky like a pulse of blue light, but his nose twitched slightly to smell the cracks in the wall. The deep whispers of beast roars synchronized with the heartbeat, and the veins of the X-47.3 hidden door faintly rotated. The windbreaker shook off the waves, and he whispered to himself and gritted his teeth, "The fruit of victory is as sweet as honey." The lingering shadow of Chen Feng is deep in the world, and the lingering poison has not been cleared away. The disadvantage is like a hidden insect biting the bone, and the whole city's worship comes like a tide, but it can't suppress the desperate premonition in his heart. 12-hour shutdown countdown. If the deep nodes are not locked, will the blue tide swell again and the whole city will rotate forever? Gu Xing's knees went weak, her silver eyes flashed with fear, her body was covered with bloodstains, and the iron chains were broken. Her arms holding Shen Mo trembled and collapsed, her voice was as broken as glass. "The boss is chasing the rebels in the depths. The blood of the hostages in the black area is rotting, our knees are weak and desperate." Parallel memories complement the 5-tier black market demonstration blueprint. The difference of the two-way bridge is fully exposed light, Li Wei's pseudo-ghosting iron triangle rotation, non-real person retinal locking, 8 Hz full peeling. Now the whole city is paying attention to my reputation, the crack bureau bounty transfer parallel patent demonstration. I will always worship the shocking boss Jia. Her fingers twitched and grabbed the edge of the windbreaker, and the 5 lines in her eyes flickered, like a ghost whispering in the depths. The residual sound of Shen Qingqing's communication howled steadily at the far end. After the real body of the sofa was handcuffed, he swallowed and collapsed. Detective Shen is so awesome. The Y-39 hub on the mezzanine of the husband's belongings of the ultimate blueprint is locked by rotating the 5-line maze. The patent theft clarifies that there is no conspiracy to stab the heart in parallel. The fake back door. I have handed over the escape blueprint of the concealed passage. The bounty inheritance of 500 million patents belongs to Shen Wei. The ghost outside the door swallows the coordinate bait and is linked to eternal thanks. Lu Zhe gasped and stood up with his gun, waist deep. He shook his legs violently. The monitor beeped wildly to confirm the energy lock. He shouted in a rough voice, "Boss, the aftermath has been harvested." Chen Feng's knees were so soft that he didn't go deep. "Our chainsaw crowbar sample log prototype complete certificate." The director sealed the title of Shen, and held the black zone blueprint. The transfer of rights, plus the 500 million black market price for the stabilizer transaction sheet formula patent. The fat policewoman knelt down outside the door and vomited blood to worship, and our whole team was committed to escorting the depths to reverse the revolution. His eyes were wet with admiration until his knees weakened, and the gun barrel splashed into the river and splashed blue mist, as if the whole city was screaming like a divine wave. Shen Mo suppressed the despair in his heart. He turned around and stared at the hidden door X-47.3 deep in the pulp pool. The blueprint projected symbol and the living snake veins nibbled at the cracks in the wall, harvesting the treasure of fame and status. Chen Feng invites you to be alone in the depths. The ultimate rotation of the 5 lines is not extinguished, sneak into the core passage and lock out the remaining poison. After saying this, he picked up the diary sandwich key with the iron pliers of his gloves and turned it, click. The hidden room in the black area of the east meeting point explodes, the passage is like a maze, the throat is cold and hesitant, the blue light pulsates inconsistently, and the details of the stone wall are overlaid. First line 2100 hours parallel left reverse throat cut stabilizer delayed ghosting middle line throat injury 30 minutes 8 Hz retina lock illusion emerges. Gu Xing whispers accusations and exchanges in multiple versions. Shen Mo, you kill Shen Hao and cut his real body right. Second line 2200 hours the real body of Theta 9 is climbing up the slurry pool with debris from the hidden door on the east side. The phantom of Shen Qingqing stabs the heart and shouts at the fake back door. The detective conspired to conspire with a 500 million patent. The ghost of the third line Li Wei is implanted in the iron triangle in 8 Hz rotation, grinning ferociously. The rotation will cycle forever, and you will be trapped forever. The walls are inconsistent like thousands of insects crawling, the radiation is microscopically rising at 12 millisieverts, and the smell of rotten juice in the air is overwhelming. Lu Zhe's eyes widened and he roared with blood. The magnetic field at the edge of the illusion on the gun was distorted by 25%, the boss's pressure. Parallel illusion attacks, multiple versions of witnesses and accusations interchanged, our waists are deep and our legs are weak with fear, and we will fight to the death to escort the gun battle to reverse. The fat policeman heard outside the door and rushed in, knelt down and worshipped and twitched. Shen is rebellious in the depths. The illusion is that Gu Sheng, Shen Qingqing, and Li Wei are exchanging accusations. Our necks are burning, our lungs are burning, and we are worshipping the wisdom in despair. The policewoman gasped and hugged the instrument with her legs broken. Shocking and frightening, the aftermath of the generator losing control, the passage collapsing and forcing acceleration, we are screaming at the logic of God with blue light and heart-gnawing heart. Shen Mo's eyes are as dead as a black hole, and the blades of the game in his mind are cutting at each other to dismantle the cracks in the illusion. Gu Xing's multiversion pupil silver wire difference black market demonstration is complete and non-interchangeable. Shen Qingqing's real body communication on the sofa clarifies that there is no string of parallel stabbing fake backdoor decoys. Li Wei's 8 Hz projection non-real person rotating iron triangle is completely fake and implanted by Chen Feng. Forged irrefutable evidence, locked by the 5-line law, the phantom heartbeat is in disorder, the 7.2 Hz generator is overloaded, the blueprint's ultimate mezzanine is exposed, the two-way bridge is non-interchangeable, the main line of the testimony puzzle, Theta 9, is cut off from the right and the debris track is completely peeled off. He threw the phantom in his windbreaker and pounced, and smashed the prototype fragments with his gloves. The hot letter jumped and stabbed the wall seam joint, click. The blue light shrank violently, the illusion collapsed, and the pulp pool roared weakly. Gu Xing's real body folded his arms and trembled in admiration. The boss has dismantled the forgery. The parallel weakness intelligence black zone demonstrates the difference between the 5 lines. We are weak in the knees and blood-stained. We are shocked and worship in admiration. The crisis escalated sharply. The depths of the generator buzzed out of control and expanded again. The ceiling beams of the passage were shattered. Debris rained down on the surface and the surface was covered with blood. The collapse forced the accelerating blue tide to pour 3 meters high. The radiation soared to 18 millisieverts and the skin blistered. Shen Qingqing's communication remote control blueprint is locked, and the projected symbol Y Theta 9 living snake crawls to seal the crack, the divine detective's deep location lock. Chen Feng's clarify the linkage of the bait coordinates. Gu Xing's silver-threaded pupils flashed the weakness information and whispered tremblingly, parallel black market demonstration, the hub melts the heartbeat 7.2 Hz vulnerability after the weakness generator is overloaded, and the blood traces of our hostages complete the ironclad proof of the eternal fear. But the final cracks in the depths of the plasma pool buzzed and swelled again, and the Theta 9 blue light veins were alive and eating the beams and pillars. Chen Feng's residual image whispered and laughed at the cold abyss of the echoing channel. Shen Mo, duel alone at the deep node, the 5-line ultimate rotation invites you. The vortex swallowed his ankles and pulled, and the sinister smile twisted like a ghostly invitation. Lu Zhe vowed to escort the hot-blooded gun and sprayed fire to seal the edge of collapse, and the chainsaw and crowbar roared to suppress the aftermath of the illusion. The boss has a premonition of the final showdown. We are waist-deep, lung broken, legs broken, and desperate. The gun battle is overwhelming and the whole city worships. Shen Mo's mind was filled with lightning and premonition, and he grinned ferociously. The glove-lock blueprint projected forward and rushed towards the core passage. His windbreaker tore in the blue light and transformed with a ferocious smile. Chen Feng, the finish line is waiting for you. The end of the core channel deep in the pulp pool is like a giant beast's throat spasming and tightening. The blue light veins on the edge of the hidden door of the sticky putrefaction slowly climbed up along the hem of Shen Mo's windbreaker, burning his skin and making a sizzling sound. The radiation meter needle soared to 22 millisieverts. The smell of burnt ozone in the air was mixed with lime decay and bloody rust, crushing his heart like a lead. The cracking sound of the ceiling beams and pillars in the passage was like bones shattering, and the collapsing rubble rolled down and broke the communication antenna. Shen Qingqing at the far end screamed intermittently, "Detective God! The Y-Theta-9 hub cannot be sealed." Chen Feng's final rotation. Gu Xing's silver-threaded eyes were weak in the knees and trembling in her arms in the distance. Bloodstains covered her body and fragments of iron chains jingled. She gasped and burst with fear. "Boss," smiling from deep. "Our hostages in the black area have made up for their weaknesses." 7.2 Hz overload and melt. Lu Zhe's waist was deep in the river, and the barrel of the gun sprayed fire to seal the aftermath of the illusion, and his knees trembled slightly with sweat and blood sliding down. With a thick neck, he opened his eyes wide and roared hoarsely with blood, "Boss, we are fighting alone. Our chests are deep, our legs are broken, our lungs are rotten, radiation is burning, we are desperate, we will fight to the death to escort Chen Feng to his knees and swallow him softly." But the blue light suddenly swelled and the phantom came over, and Li Wei's fake 8 Hz rotating iron triangle appeared with a ferocious smile. "Shen Feng Mo, the cycle is forever, and you will always be accused of swapping." The fat policewoman knelt down outside the door and vomited blood clots, twitching and worshipping. She grabbed the radiation meter with her fat fingers and screamed, "The deep reversal of Shen Shen. We are worshipping in fear, and Chen Feng is laughing with a dagger, and the whole city is in danger of collapse." Chen Feng's figure in the abyss slowly floated up at the end of the pulp pool. The mask's double image was twisted and grinning like 5 lines of ghosts superimposed. The space metal dagger's blade jumped with heat and reflected the Theta-9 blue light pulse. His remaining arms were bubbling with blue pulp and his knees were weak. His defeated appearance was still there, but his pupils shrank into needlepoints. Fear turned to crazy laughter, and his voice was like random frequency 7. 2 Hz buzzing distorted the throat. "Shen Mo is here, the ultimate rotation of the 5 lines, immortal. Patent theft and debt of 500 million, black market threats, Shenhao's corpse, right side cut, left side reverse throat, clone is not present, completely stripped. Overloaded camouflage deep in the generator, I dominate the X47.3 core node, blueprint interlayer Y theta the two-way bridge of the -9 hub is always circulating, are you weak?" He swung his dagger and the illusion exploded, and Gu Xing's multiple versions whispered. Shen Mo conspired with Shen Qingqing to fake the back door. Shen Qingqing's phantom screamed in the heart, the $5 billion inheritance of the divine detective. The retina is locked on the iron triangle, and the rotation is immortal. The tunnel collapsed accelerating, the broken beams smashed into the pulp and blood spattered on the surface, and the blue tide poured 4 meters high and swallowed half of Lu Zhe's body. He roared with a chainsaw and crowbar to suppress the illusion, but his legs were weak and he fell to his knees. "Boss. Chen Feng has the upper hand. Our entire team has no despair and fear. Where is the power of intelligence?" Shen Mo's windbreaker tore in the blue light and deformed with a grin. The key in the diary was locked with iron pliers in his gloves and turned and clicked, and the deduction in his mind was like a crack in a game of razor blades. the inferiority squeezed the throat like a hidden insect eating the bone. The whole city worshipped the peak of fame and the 500 million patent black zone blueprint was held. But the lingering poison whispered in the depths synchronized with the heartbeat, Chen Feng's. Ni's soft pulp swallowed the invitation to be alone. The generator was out of control, humming and pretending to be overloaded, 7.2 Hz random frequency, the ironclad evidence was not completely peeled off. The nose moves slightly and smells the cracks in the wall. The stone wall overlaps. The first line is 2100 hours. Parallel left reverse throat stabilization. Delayed ghosting. Middle line throat injury. 30 minutes. 8 Hz retinal locking phantom emerges. The second line is 2200 hours. Real body theta 9 east side hidden door. Debris crawls into the mud pool. Chapter 2 The third line Li Wei's fake ghost image is rotated and implanted. The fourth line's clone is not present at the black market demonstration. The fifth line's throat partial patent revenge. The fifth line's rules are all locked, but Chen Feng's figure in the depths is leaping with enthusiasm and is not an afterimage, and the Y theta 9 hub melting loophole in the real body's veins is hidden. His eyes were as dead as a black hole, and he whispered and gritted his teeth to laugh at himself, the sweet trap of immortality. Chen Feng, the ultimate mezzanine two-way bridge of the blueprint is exposed, the generator is overloaded and the residual frequency is 7.2 Hz, the heartbeat is random and fakes the master of the depths, completely stripped. The disadvantage is like a river of pulp swallowing the throat, the whole city is screaming and worshipping the tide, and he can't suppress the desperate premonition in his heart. The crack is closed for 11 hours and 59 minutes, if the deep nodes are not locked, will the blue tide swell and rotate forever? Lu Zhe's eyes widened when he heard this, and he roared with blood. He sprayed fire from his deep chest and pressed Li Wei's illusion. The magnetic field at the edge of the illusion was distorted by 35%. His knees trembled and worshipped until he twitched. Boss, divine pressure. Chen Feng's deep advantage. The 4-meter surge collapsed. The gravel rain, radiation, burned the skin and blistered. Our legs were broken. We were desperate, pretending to be overloaded. 7.2 Hz random frequency, completely stripped of God's logic. Gu Xing's silver-wired eyes flashed with fear and worship, blood stains trembled and the communication fragments screamed, shocking. The boss's black market demonstration blueprint difference two-way bridge Li Wei's fake 8 Hz non-real person, the weakness intelligence completion generator hub burned the melting heartbeat leaked, and our hostage's knees were weak and the worship was reversed. The fat policeman rolled his eyes and vomited blood and shouted, Shen peeled off Chen Feng's ultimate disguise. Our necks and lungs were rotten and the radiation was so loud that we screamed in panic, and the media broadcast live that the whole city knelt down. Shen Maji crushes the master in the depths, the blueprint is clamped. Layer Y theta 9 exposed the 5-line evidence and laughed ferociously. The policewoman's legs turned to pulp and she knelt down with her gun in her hand, her face contorted in admiration and gasping, the fear is overwhelming. The boss god's insight into the overload residual frequency, our beams and pillars collapsed in despair, and the whole city's passers-by and vehicles worshipped Shen and his reputation burned in the sky. The ghostly image of Chen Feng's mask cracked his smile and turned into convulsions. The edge of the dagger stabbed Shen Mo's chest with enthusiasm. His blue light veins gnawed through his throat. His knees were weak and his remaining arms were bubbling, but he rushed forward crazily. Shen Mo specializes. Shen Hao steals 500 million black market threats, and the corpses in the passage are perfectly absent. Are you a god in the city? Go and go. The 5-line superimposition of the illusion exploded, and Gu Sheng, Shen Qingqing, and Li Wei exchanged accusations. Laughter hit his face, debris rained down on Shen Mo's shoulders, and the blue tide poured 5 meters high and engulfed Lu Zhe's whole gun. He broke the chainsaw and bent the crowbar, roaring hoarsely and desperately, "Boss!" Chen Feng pressed the dagger to his throat. Our entire team collapsed and was driven to death by fear. What's the meaning of this divine power? Shen Mo's windbreaker hunter threw away the phantom and pounced, his gloves and iron pliers smashed the fragments of the prototype, and the hot letter jumped and stabbed directly into the ghosting hub of Chen Feng's mask. Click. The blue light shrank violently and hummed with a 7.2 Hz heartbeat. Chen Feng's pupils shrank in fear and his knees weakened and he leaned back. Impossible, the deep nodes are melting and camouflaging, how do you peel it off? The climax broke out, and Shen Mo's brain was struck by lightning, and the blades of the game cut each other and dismantled the final crack. Chen Feng, 5 lines of full-lock truth. The first line is parallel left anti-real body projection. The stabilizer delays 30 minutes 8 Hz retinal pseudo-lock. The second line 2200 hours theta 9 east side debris real body trajectory plasma pool crawling rise. The third line Li Wei ghosted the iron triangle generator implanted into a non-real black market. Demonstration, the fourth line's clone was not present and the two-way bridge delay. The fifth line's patented revenge diary interlayer ironclad evidence, overloaded deep in the generator, non-camouflage, real vulnerability Y theta 9 hub melted heartbeat 7.2 Hz random frequency all exposed, your knees are weak and you are alone, and you are digging your own grave in the end. He locked Chen Feng's residual arm with iron pincers and twisted it, the prototype dagger fell out of his hand, the hot news leaped and stabbed the joint and exploded, the backflow of blue light veins violently devoured Chen Feng's body, the ghost of the mask collapsed, and the ferocious smile twisted into a desperate convulsion. Shen Mo. Indestructible, patent. 500 million. The ankle was suddenly pulled in by the river of plasma, the ripples gathered into the final symbol and dissipated. The deep part of the generator buzzed and broke. The zenith beams of the channel stopped breaking. The blue wave suddenly retreated to the ankle. The radiation needle dropped back to 5 millisieverts. The smell of rotten juice in the air faded away and replaced by the cool night breeze. Lu Zhe was gasping for blood and stood up with his gun. His knees were weak and the worship was overwhelming. He was trembling and yelling, "The boss is awesome." Chen Feng was so soft on his knees that he swallowed the whole body in the final rotation. The generator hub melted the 7.2 Hz loophole and crushed it with his mind. We are 5 meters tall. Deep collapse, rain of rubble, burning lungs and broken legs, the whole city turned around and worshipped the gods. The media broadcast scrolled, Shen Mo locked the core of X-47.3, the 5 lines of the blueprint maze were exposed, Chen Feng took revenge on Meng Zhaoheyangtan. The ultimate title of God, full authority over the patented Black Zone blueprint with a bounty of 1 billion, plus all the transaction orders for the stabilizer formula. The fat policeman rushed in and knelt down in twitching to worship, his neck was boiling and he rolled his eyes and vomited blood, shocking reversal. Now the whole city is screaming and falling to their knees, sinking their minds and suppressing their trump cards. The policewoman held her gun and weakly worshipped, gasping, "The boss is pretending to be the master of the depths, our blue light is heartbreaking and panic, the reputation is burning through the city sky, the crack crisis will forever be resolved and the aftermath will be knelt down." Gu Xing pounced on her, her silver-threaded eyes flashed with fear, her body covered with bloodstains, Shen Mo's arms trembled and collapsed, and there was a sound of shattered glass. The boss is so awesome. The parallel memory black market demonstrated a two-way bridge. Li Wei was completely stripped off. Our hostage's knees were weak and his blood was rotten in despair. Now we will reward you. The parallel patent demonstration of gold transfer has made Gu Xing famous in the city, and the eternal worship has shocked the intellectual pressure. Shen Qingqing's communication is restored and the remote end is stable, and the real body of the sofa bursts into tears. The mezzanine of Shen Shen's ultimate blueprint is fully opened, the 5-line maze is locked and no conspiracy is clarified, and the husband's relics are exclusively the inheritance of 500 million is returned to the power of God, and the escape from the passage is concealed forever. The holographic screen flashes wildly and the countdown reaches 0, the crack closes and the hum subsides, the overlapping shadows on the stone walls of the abyss of the slurry pool fade away, the night wind hunts and disperses the blue mist, and Shen Mo's fame burns through the urban night sky like a pulse. From loneliness the reasoner transforms into the guardian of time and space, and the growth in his brain is like the tempering of a blade. The cracks in the testimony blueprint are peeling off the threads, and the parallel crisis is overwhelming the wisdom of Yongjin, but the nose is slightly twitching to smell the new discord. On the distant horizon, new cracks are lightly flashing blue light, and the whispering beast's roar is faintly synchronized with the heartbeat. Lu Zhe panted with blood and propped up the monitor to confirm that the energy was locked. He worshipped and shouted in a rough voice, "Boss has grown to the peak. Chen Fengjiang has swallowed the aftermath and harvested the whole city. The Black Zone blueprint holds a stabilizer patent worth 1 billion. Our entire team will fight to the death to protect the new crisis. We will reach the status of God. Go for invincibility." Shen Mo suppressed the new feeling of despair in his heart, shook off the waves and turned to stare at the blue light on the horizon, the fruit of victory, the whisper of the new rotation. The cracks in time and space will never be extinguished. After saying this, he picked up the fragments of the new blueprint with the iron pliers of his gloves. Click. The veins of the hidden door at the far end gnawed at the sky, and a new sinister smile twisted and emerged. Shen Mo, next. The moment before the crack closed, the holographic screen flashed wildly for 11 hours and 59 minutes. Chen Feng's figure emerged from the cold abyss at the end of the plasma pool, holding a deadly space metal dagger, and the ghost of the mask smiled twistedly. "Shen Mo, here we come."